highly experimental beginning with my friends. We have a psychologist, a neuroscientist, and neurologist in the same room. Take that, Nikhil Kamath. What do you think the overlapping part of all your fields is?
The brain. The thing about the brain and neuroscience, everybody looks at it differently. What is fascinating about what you've done, Ranveer, has got us all together here so we can see the brain as a whole.
There is an entire theory around the prefrontal cortex, which is the evolved brain. Its main job is to not to decide what to do, but to justify the decision that the subconscious brain is taking.
Wow. Would you be open to taking
Ayahuasca.
doctor licensed ketamine therapy?
Because we are
You just mentioned suicides. What's happening in the mind of a person who decides he wants to take his own life?
things that I've observed and seen is that they genuinely feel that they are.
So if we had to give advice to parents, what advice would we give them?
Make them fail. If your kid has been succeeding all throughout school, parents would be very happy, but that's not a really safe thing.
There's autism, which is increasing in numbers. So probably 100 years from now, more and more children might be born autistic.
We should probably stop looking at autism as a disease and just think that, okay, all kids are born different.
Adult ADHD, very hot term, and it's almost become a status symbol. To say,
Oh, it's
I've
so
seen this a lot.
sad when people walk into my clinic and I say everything's fine with you. They're like, really?
I want my money back.
Do you guys think it's useful for every young person to take a step back, understand the structure, working of their brain and their mind?
Yes. I think it's a big disservice that we don't teach neuroscience in school.
Absolutely.
Everyone should learn.
Attempting something very new on the Ranveer Show. These are my three favorite brain experts. Havovi Hyderabadwalla, one of our country's top psychologists. Dr. Sid Warrier, one of our country's top neurologists. And Dr. Alok Sharma, one of our country's top neurosurgeons. We spoke about the brain from every possible angle you can think of. We're trying to bring out more depth through these conversations. If you've enjoyed any of the neuroscience conversations that we've had on the Ranveer Show, I hope you watch this one till the end. Send in your feedback. We're going to be doing a lot more group episodes to bring you richer, more dense conversations. I'd love to hear your feedback in the comment section. But the experiment begins now. I had a blast, learned a lot, and I hope that you feel the same way by the end of this very special episode of the Ranveer Show. Group podcast are here. Highly experimental beginning with my friends. Some of the smartest people I've met in my life through the show are together in the same room. Take that, Nikhil Kamath. Welcome to my beautiful brainy friends.
Thank you
Ranveer.
for having us.
Thank you for having us.
We have a psychologist, a neuroscientist, and neurologist in the same room.
Yes.
What do you three think the overlapping part of all your fields is? The easy way to answer that is the brain.
Yeah.
What's the harder way of answering the same question?
Okay, because we have a psychologist, a neurologist, and a neurosurgeon.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about the brain and neuroscience, it's the only field where the examiner and the examinee is the same. You see, when you're studying cardiology, the brain is studying the heart. When you're studying astronomy, the brain is studying, the planets. When you're studying neuroscience, our own brains are studying the brain. It's the only field where this happens. And there are so many layers. The brain is the only organ or the nervous system that's been not understood at all, simply because of the layers and simply because, as we were just discussing before, everybody looks at it differently. So psychologists from the time of Freud have looked at the brain differently. And neurologists have looked at it differently, more from a disease and a disorder point of view. And neurosurgeons have looked at it differently, again, from what is structurally wrong in the brain. And neuroscientists have looked at what's happening at the cellular level. So each one of us sees a different part of it. If the brain was an elephant, somebody's seeing the trunk and somebody's seeing the tail
Yeah.
and somebody's seeing the leg. What is fascinating about what you've done, Ranveer, is got us all together here so we can see the brain as a whole.
Do you guys not meet each other in your regular lives? Or do you all meet each other in your regular
I
lives?
actually do. Like I was telling the two of them that I have a very holistic practice. I never look at something as I'm going to fix everything for you. I can't do that. And I'm very like honest and real about it. If I've not specialized in it, if someone's having migraines and I feel like it's not psychosomatic and it's actually a functional issue, I will hand it over to the experts. I will not go in that direction. So, and it helps to meet and discuss cases from different aspects. Like he said, like you're looking at an elephant and I will look at it from the trunk and the torso and the legs. So,
I mean,
Works.
eventually we do reach that same place because as a neurologist, say if I've been treating migraine patients for the last 10 years, I have realized more and more that without a psychologist, that patient cannot be treated in their entirety. So as a neurologist, there's a certain amount of stuff that I can treat in that patient, but there is a psychological component to a lot of diseases which doctors would just sort of ignore or say that ये अपने आप से ठीक हो जाएगा. But we don't do that with any other disease, right? If I find that somebody's liver functions are abnormal, I will involve a gastroenterologist. But if I find that somebody's stressed, why should I ignore it? So very similarly, in my clinic as well, I have a psychologist now who works with me full time. So we end up working together.
I think something I've brought up in common in all your individual episodes is this statement about how neuroscience is often about the hardware of the brain, and then psychology is about the software of the brain.
software. Yeah.
I would like to know from you guys about that border between the two. You know,
I basically believe there isn't a border. There is a lot of overlap there. So you can't really separate. It's like trying to say that bulb and the light. Can you separate the bulb from the light? So the hardware, is without the hardware, there would be no light. Okay. But just the hardware wouldn't give light.
Yeah.
So we believe it's time we started looking at the brain as one. Now, again, just to let you know, the brain is again like, it's called a holon, or, like there's a Greek god called Janus. You know about Janus? Janus is a two-headed god, Greek god. One head is in front, one head is at the back. The month January is named after Janus because in January you look back at the year that's gone and you look ahead at the year that's coming.
wow.
Now, the thing about the brain, it does two interesting things. It looks inwards at what is happening inside, okay? And it looks outward at what is happening with the brain. So the brain is this Janus-like structure which is constantly evaluating what's going on. Your hunger, your thirst, your breathing, your respiration, everything in the brain. It's constantly monitoring all of that, right? At the same time, it's monitoring what's happening in the outside world and trying to merge both together. So the brain is really like the Greek god Janus. And that's what makes it unique.
Seems like there's too much pressure on it.
There is
There is.
It's unbelievable. I mean, if you try to even think of what the brain is doing every second, you'll completely collapse, okay? I mean, it's just because there are millions and millions of neurons, okay? Now, again, a very fascinating thing about the neurons is the neurons are not one continuous wire. There's an interface between every cell. We're talking of 10 billion neurons, and between each neuron, there's a gap called a synapse, in which, so it's like if this is one neuron and this is another one, there's a gap where there is a chemical transmission. So a chemical neurotransmitter has to be released from here to here to stimulate this. And to think that millions of cells are getting simultaneously, stimulated, sometimes excited, sometimes inhibited for the smallest thing to happen. We're just talking of the conscious mind, the subconscious mind that's controlling everything. Even the world's biggest, computer or the massive data center can't compete with what's actually happening in one human brain.
I would love to just know whatever's going on in your head, ma'am.
Right now?
Because I know you're seeing things from a very psychology perspective, and I actually think that there's a very young Gen Z audience
Right.
in this room as well. The three of them are like, I think 20, 21, 22 years old. So that's the audience. And I also think that unfortunately that audience is said to be aging faster and having more mental health trouble than we did. And then I compare myself to you guys. Where I feel that I think this doctor said to me almost the same age, but we had a slightly tougher time than you guys. I think. Like, I think there was a little more mental health, but the Gen Zs are having a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So how are you viewing this whole conversation about the brain? And I would also like to ask you how you're viewing the brain objectively in your own life. Is it evolving? What's happening from a societal perspective?
I feel what's happening right now, like, first, just to take this part ahead, there's something called neuroception. It is so magical to me. When I read it the first time, I was like, does this really happen? Where at a subcortical level, at a subconscious level, your brain already knows what it is going to do.
Neuroception.
Okay? Yes, neuroception. And it's amazing. And it comes because you've had all of these experiences in your life. Now, I'm the abstract part. They are the slightly more concrete part of these things. So for me, I like to concretize certain things so that people understand. And anyways, our brain understands what is concrete. Like, if I try to describe a cup to you versus show you a cup, you will be able to understand the cup better than me actually describe it to you. One is that. Coming to like what's happening societally, I think a couple of things. It's multi-layered. It's not one thing at all. I think just the way resilience is going, for example, like Dr. Sid and I were just talking that, resilience was, our times, I think we were way, way, way more resilient.
Yeah.
And slowly, somewhere along the way, maybe it's a part and parcel of parenting. Like, that's a very, very big thing.
Because even the parents have their own issues.
Yeah, because parents have their own issues. Then you're coming down, you're passing on those things, you're passing on those patterns. If you have unresolved issues, you will unknowingly pass it down. So, and you don't have control as to how you will perceive what I say.
I got to pause you there just for a second.
Yeah.
Could you define neuroception once again so that we can move forward with clarity? Is it like intuition?
No. So neuroception, and please correct me if I'm wrong, both of you all, right? Neuroception, from what I understand, I'll try and simplify it because I think audiences love the simplification. It is the part of the neuroception, like what Dr. Alok just said, that when something is going to get fired at some level, it already knows it's going to fire at a particular point. And this is, again, very, very abstract. It's like how we say subconscious, unconscious. Because we have references of patterns, it is already going to happen at some level.
Like, for example?
It would be hard to give an example. What would be a good example
I
of
think
you?
we can talk about Breitbart potentials here.
Okay.
Where, suppose if I decide that I want to pick up the glass,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Now,
that's a good one.
at some point, I have made a conscious decision to pick up the glass. If I had EEG electrodes on my head around, I think, 350 milliseconds before I actually move,
That's true.
Yeah.
you will see a spike in my brain, which is
Okay.
subconscious.
Yeah.
Which means that a part of my brain knew that
Knew
I am
already
going to pick up
that
the
I'm
glass
going to do
before
it.
I have consciously decided.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there is an entire theory around the prefrontal cortex, which is the evolved brain. Its main job is to not to decide what to do, but to justify the decision that the subconscious brain is taking.
Okay, so the brain is the CEO of the body?
Yes.
And would you say that this PFC is the CEO of the brain?
Of the brain.
It's doing all your conscious mind stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now back to resilience. So why did you bring up neuroception and then link it to resilience?
For me, what has happened, I think, because we are taught in a particular way and then it is transferred down, and everybody is going to be a different parent. And a parent could be even somebody who's not biologically related to you. It could just be a primary caregiver. Today, parental figures are even teachers. So, tomorrow, what my teachers also have said or done will play a role in my cloth of consciousness and unconsciousness.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I have a question, ma'am. So, with every generation, if resilience is falling, is it because the level of expectation is different in each generation, where each new generation sort of is brought up with expecting less hardship? Is that a relative thing? Maybe because our parents or our grandparents grew up with this expectation that हाँ भाई
Life
struggle
is
तो होने
hard.
वाला है.
Yeah.
As in,
Yeah.
every set of parents is
Yeah.
softer
Yes,
progressively.
the expectation of hardship is lesser. They think
I
that
think
they're going to have a better
there is
life.
that segment of parents who want to make it better for the generation that
Yes.
is coming. So there are a lot of things that we learned on our own and
Yeah.
nobody taught us, right? But we
Yeah.
learned the hard way, which is why maybe we are way more resilient than the generation that is to come.
Because this happens in medical colleges all the time, where every
Oh,
new
yeah.
generation of residents think this
Absolutely.
is, I cannot take it, and the seniors say, "Ki, "Arey, we had it worse than you."
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like today is something very simple. Like people are typing their files out, and I'm like, we've written 100 pages. And they're like, no, it's too hard. I'm like, okay, all right. We had to submit like 10, 15 cases. And, right now it's ending at 3 and 4 cases. I'm like, by the third case, you actually know how to talk to somebody. Like,
Yeah.
where is this going?
Because that's the crazy thing about resilience, that we will suffer at whatever level we are put at. So I remember when I had gone to KEM recently, now KEM medicine has close to 25 residents per year and same number of patients. So that means that many patients are
Oh,
getting
wow.
divided between 25 residents. At our time, we had 16. And we thought we were having a tough time. So why are these kids crying? They have almost double the number of. But 5 years before me, there were 9.
Wow.
And 5 years before that, there were 6. And every batch feels like I am getting the worst deal. And after this, even if there are 50, I'm sure those residents will also complain कि भाई बहुत काम है. So is resilience just suffering at where you are based on your expectation?
If you're enjoying this conversation and if the growth of the mind is a subject that appeals to you, definitely go check out Swaha. It's my meditation app, which I've built out over the last 5 years with the intention of helping you improve the quality of your life to boosting the quality of your mind. Now back to this group podcast. What I've seen, and I'd love to know what you think, Doctor. What I've seen with younger hires that we have in any of our organizations is that they're very good at jobs for a short time, and then you need to keep them entertained, and you really need to keep like switching their roles, which was very different than when we were 22 years old. We see this stark difference. I remember Naval Ravikant saying that one of the biggest demons of the modern time is overstimulation. That there's just way too much going on in the world. I boil that down to AI usage and short content usage. I just wonder from a neuroscience perspective what is doing to like neural patterns in the head, and if that is on any level linked to affecting psychology, which is then linked to affecting resilience, which is then linked to affecting work performance.
Now, what has happened is, from a neurological evolution point of view, see, we've grown up, from fishes, reptiles, mammalians to human beings. So our lower brain, so we have 3 parts of our brain. There's a reptilian brain, okay, which is the brainstem, which just deals with the immediate hunger, thirst, food, etc. Then there's the paleo mammalian brain, which has an emotional content to it. It deals with a lot of very powerful driving forces. And then there's the newer brain that we have. Now, what happened is when we evolved, the evolution between the lower and the higher brain was sudden. The human cortex has grown very rapidly. If you see evolution, no organ has ever grown so suddenly, which is why the higher brain doesn't normally has no direct control over the lower brain. When between the higher brain and the midbrain, there is a problem, because everything the higher brain says, the lower brain may not listen.
Like, for
Right.
example?
For example, you may know that eating junk food is not good, okay?
Oh.
But your midbrain would, want to eat that, or, for anything. It's true for addictions, it's true for almost everything. You may know getting up in the morning and going for a walk is great for your health, but your lower brain, midbrain will want to sleep.
Is it more animalistic than the
It's
higher
exactly.
brain? That's
So
what's
it is purely animalistic. So if you remove our higher cortex, our lower brain is exactly like that of lower animals. Okay, so the brainstem it's called the reptilian brain. There is no difference between that part of the brain, between us, between any reptile. Okay, and if you go a little higher, that brain, the paleomammal brain, is just like a goat, a sheep, a horse, or lion, or anything else. There is no difference, absolutely no difference. But we have superimposed on top of this the higher brain.
I just got to kind of accumulate everything you said, and then I'm going to pass the ball to Havovi, ma'am. So we spoke about the higher brain and the lower brain. Lower brain is very animalistic.
Yeah.
Please help me out, Dr. Sid.
Yeah, it is so far so good. You're on track.
It is very
We're all
animalistic.
good.
Responsible for all your involuntary actions. Often responsible for many of the negative emotions that you feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
I assume greed, lust, anger,
Absolutely.
sadness.
All of
7 cardinal sins of
They are all animal
Christianity.
brain.
It's all lower brain. Jo bhi,
Devilish
all
emotions.
the things that the Bible, the Quran, the Gita, everybody tells you
Yeah,
don't do.
but I also
That's all.
like while it's so cardinal in some senses, I think also if you use it the right way, right? Like it's so wrong when we say anger is wrong. Anger is not wrong. It's where you use it. Like if you go your whole life suppressing anger, you are bound to have some flare up in your body, which is going to lead to some kind of stroke or some kind of inflammation or something, right?
yeah.
Like we talk about the mind body connection. So, it's not about it being completely in the wrong. It's what you do with it.
Got it. Okay.
The irony is that you might feel anger from a limbic system, like your old brain.
Yeah.
And it's not that animals don't fight.
Yeah.
Animals fight each other all the time. There are tribes of monkeys fighting other tribes of monkeys. What is interesting though is that the ability to create stories is such a prefrontal cortex ability. And so if your limbic system, say, gets angry at someone, the prefrontal cortex can create a story that it's not just this person, it's actually their entire religion.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is a uniquely human capacity. To take an individual anger and
convert it into
using your prefrontal cortex.
I also feel it's
making
part
it
of the
global.
collective, right? Like when you hear people enough saying, oh, it's this particular community or it's this particular tribe, when you hear that enough also, the software registers, the story, right? And then it's very easy to make that association with the firing of everything that exists.
Yes.
Okay. I'll go back to that accumulation of thought.
Yeah.
Low brain is about the animalistic tendencies.
Tendencies, yeah.
Higher brain can be assumed to be the PFC.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is responsible for all your human tendencies.
Yes.
So all these neuroscience buzzwords we hear, like neuroplasticity, the growth of the brain, the central aspect of self-improvement. I would even argue positive emotions like love, compassion. Perhaps all that comes out of the higher brain.
Yes.
Well,
Partly.
That's being
It's a bit of a blend.
wow, because animals can be nice as well.
Yeah.
because let's put it this way. When your lower brain doesn't act, you won't feel love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Ultimately,
That's correct.
there will be no motivation. So if you look at it from a neurochemical perspective, what we identify as love is essentially dopamine and oxytocin, which is very much a lower brain function, and the higher brain will put a story on top of it.
Gotcha.
So the predominant function of the higher brain is to take an emotion and kind of fit it into your worldview. But that emotion will exist in the lower brain.
I almost feel like your whole job is around the higher brain.
I was just thinking that I was going to be like, what can also go terribly, terribly wrong is that when we sort of, again, at an emotional and abstract level, we have been taught to romanticize a lot of positive things at some level. And that gives you a great hit of dopamine, and then you just go at it to a point where it becomes toxic. So whether we talk about hope in a relationship, any sort of relationship, we talk about love, right? Love gets people into so much trouble all the time, right? But you're still like going at it because you're a romantic, and love looks like this, and love looks like fighting and
प्यार
not
है तो
giving
मुमकिन
up.
है. Yes.
Yeah. So, प्यार किया तो डरना क्या भाई? Just sit down, take a moment, take a deep breath. You will see what's wrong out
Actually,
here.
प्यार किया तो डरना है. There is.
Do you guys think it's useful for every young person to take a step back, understand the structure working of their brain and their mind,
Yes.
and then gauge
Oh,
their...
that was nice.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
for
I think it's
sure.
a big disservice that we don't teach neuroscience in school.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
everyone should learn.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like, think of this, right? Like at 18, we get a driver's license. Okay. Imagine a kid learning to drive without ever being taught accelerator कौन सा है, brake कौन सा है, gear कैसे बदलना है. ये तो basic हो गया ना. But we are somehow expected to navigate life without understanding that, okay, the amygdala will threaten you, will get activated when you're threatened. The prefrontal cortex is supposed to gain control over your limbic system in order to control your emotions. These are things which are affecting us.
Yeah.
Why are we not taught this?
In fact, I think it's absolutely like, I don't know what the nice word for it is, but to get someone to choose math, science, commerce at the age of 16.
Oh, yes.
Oh, God.
What a
I think it's too
scam.
early. Yeah.
What a disaster that is.
I think it's too early.
It's
People
too
have no idea.
early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're so busy making mistakes, actually. You should have a
Ranveer, I
window
wanna
for
ask
making
you
some
here,
mistakes.
What made you choose engineering?
My mom.
The true Indian answer.
I would argue something
Yeah.
similar for the three of you all as well.
And a second question, why
yeah.
didn't you take medicine when both your parents were doctors?
I
So
just-
answer both together.
yeah, just a rebellious
Okay.
bone,
So
just because
your
I
lower
was-
brain, your animal brain said no medicine.
yeah. Even today, like all my loved ones know that they shouldn't tell me what they want me to do
Okay.
because then I don't do it.
Okay.
I want to do the opposite. It's too much of that animal brain at play.
Why engineering?
No self-willed decision.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just parents told me do it, and I'm glad I did it. Honestly, when I look back, it exercised my brain in a way that I'm using even today.
No,
And
did you do it for your parents or you did it because you wanted to do it?
for my parents.
If you had to go back in time, hypothetically, would you still choose engineering?
Yeah.
You would?
If I knew what it gave me, what I've become at age 32 thanks to the engineering, then yes. But at 22, I would have definitely said no. I would have said no till about 28, 29. And it's kind of linked to this angle of curiosity. I think engineering really sparks your curiosity in a weird way because it teaches you how to think in free space. So you apply that free space thinking to a lot of different, to almost every aspect of life.
So what would you tell an 18-year-old listening to the podcast who wants to do something and their parents want them to do something else?
I've not met this 18-year-old actually, because right now everyone's doing whatever they want to do, and which is
there are people
which is a
who are in
boon
that
and a
dilemma.
curse.
Yeah.
See, we have people in small towns. So we are talking about the larger cities, but there are a lot of people coming from smaller towns, who actually face this because, this question. And what would you tell them?
I have a very hardcore way of looking at life, which is that like I believe in going to the gym and building your muscles and training and making your body more flexible. And therefore, I'd say that choose a tough degree between the age of 18 and 21, 22. Something that will challenge you.
That'll
Because
challenge you. Okay.
if you begin with a really, really tough situation, I think the rest of life becomes easier. That's based on how I have seen life. Like I feel it was important to take up something really difficult at between 18 to 25. It made the rest of my life very, very easy in comparison.
Okay. That makes sense.
I would love to know what ma'am thinks.
I would actually send everybody for a psychometric assessment.
Ooh.
And because that really helped me. While I knew I was made for the humanities, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do media. Because, when my psychometric assessment came, it said you would do very well in mass media. I've landed up here somewhere. Then it said social sciences, it said interior designing, it said a bunch of things for me. And I think that really helped me. So instead of going helter skelter and figuring out what is it, I think it really helps to have someone just, sort of take you, just go to a accredited institution, do a credible sort of psychometric battery of tests, which will give you your aptitude, your IQ, your personality. And above all, I think this is something people don't look at: interest. You are here today because of interest. It has got nothing to do with anything. Any robot can eventually replace you and do your job depending on what it is, right? But it is your interest today that he has the seniority, he has the seniority, I have mine, you have yours, right? That's what has kept us going. And even people come to me also, but madam, engineer banega, bacha, doctor banega, bacha. I'm like, banega, but he will not be happy. Like, look at our country. People are still like committing suicide, right? Trigger warning to everybody. So, interest plays a very, very key role. Also, personality. I have some very meek people coming to me and saying, I want to be a forensic criminal psychologist. I'm like, do you know yourself first? Because when you sit on this side and it's not Netflix and you have to hear a bunch of things, do you have the skin for it?
You just mentioned suicide, and this is something which has intrigued me, since I was young. What is it? What's happening in the mind of a person who decides he wants to take his own life? Because survival is a very fundamental, basic instinct in all
Yes.
animals.
Yes.
What is happening in their mind that somebody says, I don't
I
want to live
love this
anymore?
question.
Yeah.
I think one of the main things that I've observed and seen is that they genuinely feel that they are alone.
Alone. Okay?
Loneliness is an epidemic even today, even with AI, even when we have people around. If you have decided that you are going to do everything on your own today, for example, in fact, I lost somebody last month to it.
Oh.
And that person, I realized, like, I couldn't see it at such close proximity.
One of your patients?
No. She was actually somebody who was like my spine. She ran my home. I could go to work because she was there. Okay. So she wouldn't complain. She would be a beast. And that's the thing you see from the outside, right? Like, people are tough and they're doing it and they're at it. And we're sitting and glorifying it. We're like, oh, amazing, damn good. You're strong. You're strong. You're not realizing how alone people are today. Like, even it was the Blue Whale Challenge, right? During the pandemic, where, the last of it is where you actually, unfortunately, like, cut yourself in a particular manner. The target was malleable teens. That's when your brain is like most susceptible. You feel alone. You are hormonal. You feel like nobody wants to like pay attention to you or understands you. And they were the best targets. They were the ones that, unfortunate, the success of it, those were the targets.
I'm sorry.
And they were not able to come out of it.
I have like
Go
two really like
for
burning
it.
questions.
Go for it.
The first question is that, is loneliness the nucleus of all suicides?
See, I feel one of them is lonely. The other is like your patterns. Patterns play out everywhere. If I have been programmed in a manner to not speak, okay, and to not confide or to not have friends, right? Then I will walk that path because I know no other path till I go and get help. That's why people say you should go get help, talk to people, right? What you're looking for is you're looking for a different perspective. You're looking for a different belief system. You're looking for a different story that your brain has not learned as you were growing up. Like, how we've seen hardship over hardship, like that. So it's very important to go and get the help because of this, so that somebody gives you
But
a different
what's
perspective.
happening in the mind? I'm particularly sensitive to the students, the NEET
Yes,
exam.
yes,
And,
yes.
it pains me when I read this. What's happening in the mind of that student who's got his whole life ahead, who's got supportive parents? They are not alone now, okay? And just because they haven't made it through an exam or something has gone wrong, they think, what's happening? What's happening?
They have taken it upon themselves to not disappoint anybody.
Oh, okay.
And when you carry that burden,
Yeah.
right, which is something that unfortunately our culture again glorifies, you are carrying this burden, right? Aram hai. Nobody should rest. Nobody should sleep. You can see how much of a chaos that is
Mhm.
with respect to both your fields. Like
Yeah.
people are not sleeping, and people genuinely in the new generation, people are glorifying lack of sleep. They're like, oh, you didn't sleep, bro, amazing. Matlab, tu kaam kiya. What calm? You will burn out by the time you are 25.
That is very interesting. Yeah, that's very
yeah.
interesting.
There is an unfortunate different angle to this as well.
Yeah.
They did the study where they took a bunch of people who were almost about to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And they did their spinal tap. So they put a needle in their spinal cord. They took out the CSF. And they saw that in all of them, the serotonin levels were very low. And what they concluded was that serotonin is sort of the chemical of hope.
Yeah.
If
Your happy hormone.
It's
serotonin
happy
gives
hormone.
you the ability to value what you have. So even when we talk of loneliness, we might be surrounded by friends.
Yes.
But if our brain is incapable of valuing those connections, we think that they are there, but are they really there?
Yep.
What is the point? What is the point of me living another? So if serotonin levels are that low, your brain's innate ability to look into the future and see hope goes away.
Yep.
So, of course, for such an act to happen, that balance has to be thoroughly, misplaced. And that is the problem, that it's a matter of hope.
So if we had to give advice to parents whose kids are between 18 and 25, what advice would we give them, all of us?
Make them fail.
Make them fail.
Oh, fail
Make
fast.
them fail.
Okay.
So I really believe that if you...
Why so? That's very interesting.
Because, the good analogy is the gym, okay?
Yeah.
So suppose if you have done a very high intensity workout and you are completely out, right? Like you're tired, but you recover. In half an hour, you feel better. And 1 week later, when you do it again, you are better in 15 minutes and then in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Your body needs to build that memory that you might feel like there is no hope. When your trainer makes you do that 50th squat, for example, you might feel like you're about to die, but you know you're not going to, even if your muscles are screaming with pain.
Yeah.
But that is a memory that your brain needs to build, that you might be in pain, but this is temporary. Pain is not going to remain. A child who's grown up in comfort, probably that neat failure is the first time that they have experienced distress to that level.
Yes.
They've never experienced it before.
That's true. That's very, very true.
How else will they know how to cope with it? They better fail. So in fact, now I've kind of flipped it around. Like if your kid has been succeeding all throughout school, parents would be very happy, but that's not a really safe thing.
Okay.
It's not.
They
That's
should
very
be failing in
interesting.
some
Very
way.
interesting.
Maybe in sports, maybe in martial class, somewhere.
Yeah.
I see a lot of quarter life crises around me, and it's often the kids who are the top of the class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of that around me.
Oh yeah, I've had gold medalists come to me and say, I don't want to do this anymore. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't blame you.
Tell us more on that.
Is there something about the age of like 30, 31, like between 30 and 35? Does something happen? Because I'm seeing a lot of volcanoes erupt around me.
I think you're just done pleasing other people and you realize this is not what you want to do. And then, the authentic part of you takes a stand and says, this is not me and me is something different. And then you go and embark on that particular path.
I have a few questions that are still burning in my head from your last bit. And I'm also going to accumulate everything you guys have said. One of the accumulated points is that game/sport/social physical activities are
Oh,
important.
yeah.
Very important. Yeah.
That's the and I'm 100% sure it affects your serotonin.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
yes,
linked to
And
it.
lots of other. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the abstract qualities like failing,
Yes.
resilience and thinking and creativity, problem solving, everything. Everything that we do on a phone, we used to do in person at one point in time.
I'd probably think that it's also important for adults. Like as in after
Yes.
25, 30, you still need to keep up some kind of group activity.
I mean, play
absolutely.
therapy is a real,
a
it's a
thing.
real thing. It's a real field.
The burning question I still have in my head to you from about 15, 20 minutes ago is that, do you visualize mental health like a spectrum? Like, especially when you're dealing with clients who have varying degrees of mental health.
Okay.
Do you see it as like one bar and then you try to like make it easier and take it from red to green?
We're talking about like somebody's journey. Are we talking like that?
Like,
Or
say
are
if
we
the-
talking about...
If the three of us come to you as clients
Sure.
and we all have different degrees of mental health,
Sure.
in your head, how do you visualize mental health? Do you physically view it?
No, so I like my personal way of doing things is to understand somebody's blueprint. And we are taught in this manner, especially at a clinical level, to see what is not there. When someone comes to me, the first thing I actually try to see is what do they have that I can use.
What do they have that you can
Yeah.
mean?
So what is already existing in you
Mm.
that I can build on, and this is a take of positive psychology, which is a very neo-nascent psychology, and strength building is a very, very real thing.
Like, for example, what? Like,
So, for example, let's say an artist comes to me,
okay.
okay, and let's say he's a painter, all right. His worldview is very skewed, doesn't love the world, etc., whatever. Is facing some sort of trauma in life or coming out of a trauma, whatever it is. I would never tell that person to stop painting. In fact, I would be like, paint as much as you can. In fact, I would use his paintings in our sessions to help me crack what is going on in his world, because
Wow.
yeah, that for me is like very important. So I don't really see it like a physical scale per se. I will look at your blueprint. I will look at like what's happening really in your system. It's a very like unconscious way of like assessing somebody, where I'm, I guess with time, with the wisdom of a therapist, you're able to be like, acha, maybe we can work with this. Maybe we can work with this. Maybe we can work with this. We don't always have to fill some void.
Okay.
That is...
I'm almost sorry that I'm asking you this question. Okay. But because I'm an engineer, I try visualizing things.
Sure.
Like machines.
Sure.
How do you visualize
Oh,
people's
it's not,
minds?
Oh, no, I don't visualize. For me, it's a lot of abstract gut feeling.
Okay. this is-
It's obviously part of my training also, where I'm not going to go amiss if someone is giving me symptoms. I'm going to take that into consideration as well, but the other qualities that people try to teach you, which is really weird to me, maybe I'm a fortunate person, but like when someone tries to teach you in college kindness and empathy, like it's weird to me, because those are traits that I have, and I had the luxury of growing up in
Okay.
a safe home where I could exercise all of these things.
God. The root of my preceding question is that I want to equip listeners with tools. They obviously can't self-therapize, but whatever the closest thing is to that. I want to give practical takeaways. Like how we got one takeaway in terms of, hey, it's great to do a physical activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just it safeguards your brain. What else?
I would ask people to focus on hygiene. When I say hygiene, I don't mean just physical hygiene, which is like very important to like all of us. When somebody steps into our office, that's one of the first things we see. I would say mental hygiene, get off your phones. Okay, maybe you want to have some part of your day that is dedicated to phone time. Maybe that's 20 minutes. Don't touch your phone. Otherwise we're living with our phones. Like it's like right here or right here, which is so bad. Hygiene, and another aspect, spiritual hygiene, physical hygiene.
What is spiritual hygiene?
Think about something that maybe like has you at a spiritual level, whatever that is. For some people, they'll be like, oh, but I'm agnostic and I don't believe in anything. Okay. Maybe sometimes you just want to go sit somewhere and do nothing. Maybe that's your version of spirituality. Okay, fine. Okay. Take some time out. Like everyone's so plugged in right now, you have to plug out, because our brains are not meant for so much plug-in time. Modernization has really, really messed up our nervous systems. Okay, like you have children, toddlers, right, with like screens right here while they're eating. And That's not okay at any
It's
level.
not.
Yeah. And
Right?
modernization seems to be messing it up further.
Absolutely. Like, then I think like financial hygiene and then just intellectual hygiene,
Wow.
like all of these things need to have some space so that you are able to align your nervous system as well, right? This is what you are doing. Like, you are ingesting this, just the way you focus on food and eating properly and eating right. You have to be very mindful of the, they say the people you meet, the books you read, the movies you see. That's all very, very real, because at some level it will translate out into your life.
Yeah.
Intellectual hygiene would be all these choices.
Yeah, all these choices, like what are you reading right now, or what are you doing right now, which maybe you're upskilling, etc. Like, what are you doing for yourself? It's important, like especially when clients come with, let's say, early onset of dementia, Alzheimer's, etc. We tell them, please do new number work. We tell them, go ahead, learn a new language, keep those parts of you alive. It's very, very important. So you start now, and whatever you do now at, like, let's say 30, 40 is going to decide what it's going to look like at 60, 70, 80, and even if you are affected, genetics, if you get affected, anyways, after doing all the hard work, maybe it won't be as bad as it would or could have been, right? Like,
Yeah.
please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're completely right. And as an extension of this, there is something else that's happening that the world is sort of not aware of. The increasing incidence of ADHD and autism. When we were smaller, ADHD almost did not exist. And now almost every alternate person has ADHD. I mean, everybody's got some degree, including us maybe. But autism, in 1995, 1 out of 1,000 kids had autism. 1 out of 1,000. Today, it is 1 out of 31. Where is 1 out of 1,000 and 1 out of 31? And the year before this, it was 1 out of 36. The year before this was 1 out of 44, 1 out of 50. So if you look at every year, 50, 40, 36, 31, just imagine what the next is.
Is this the evolution of the human
Scary.
species?
Exactly. In some ways it is. But it is also, it's something which is not understood, because what is happening, and it's a very interesting question you asked. And we've studied this through neuroscience, because we do the brain scans of kids with autism. I've treated almost 8,000 children. And when 8,000 children, when you do their PET CT scans, these are functional scans, we see parts of the brain that are not working, but we see parts of the brain that are working more. So whereas we've noticed, and this might interest you, there's cerebellum in every 8,000 children that we've done, their cerebellum is completely hypometabolic, and the limbic system, the medial temporal lobe, including, that's why they can't speak, they have no attention, no concentration, they can't go to normal schools. But we find that the visual area, the occipital area, and sometimes part of their prefrontal cortex is hypermetabolic. That's what creates an Elon Musk. That's what creates a Bill Gates. In fact, Bill Gates, in a TV interview 6 months ago, he's written a book called Source Code. Actually said in the interview, as a child, he had all the symptoms of autism. He described the symptoms. And if you see Bill Gates and Elon Musk, you'll see a lot of similarities.
Lionel Messi?
Yeah, Messi, of course. And then
Really?
you can go back to Albert Einstein. Yeah,
Kind
of course.
of
yeah.
seems
He's
Yeah, yeah.
autistic.
Yeah.
No. And nobody who
It's
dribbles
ADHD.
like that has
No.
a hyperactive cerebellum. That man has insane balance.
Anyway, so what's happening is that what she said is now extending to society as a whole, where we have a large number of people with ADHD. Now, what happens with ADHD is people like this can't go through the normal education system, which is about rote memory. It is about sitting with a book, memorizing, and going and, so the education system now was structured at a time where there were no calculators, when there were no computers, when information wasn't easily available. We had to memorize the Battle of Panipat. Now, what is the relevance of knowing who won or who lost in the Battle of Panipat today? Okay. And if you want to, it's available in your hand. So I believe it's important that we restructured our education system to now cater to the next level of humans. As you said, that autism is the next level of human evolutions, because these kids can do stuff we can't do. They are masters in non-verbal communications. They can literally read your mind. They know what you're perceiving. Their understanding is so amazing. And our PET scans are showing it. Then they have visual memory, because their entire occipital cortex completely hypermetabolic. That's why Einstein, he saw somebody traveling at the speed of light. Nobody could do that. It requires a brain like that to be able to see beyond. It requires. Elon Musk had Asperger's as this thing. He openly talks about his autism. He did something nobody's done. When I learned my driving in the 1980s, I never thought one day cars would go without petrol. One man changed everything. He's talking of setting up colonies on Mars. He got Neuralink. He's talking, stimulating the brain. There's no field that he has not touched. So this is the next level of human evolution. However, there is an increasing number of children who cannot speak, because now the autism earlier that they had was a different type. It was called the spectrum. Today we are having kids who cannot talk. They're totally nonverbal. They are extremely hyperactive. They are aggressive. They can't go to normal schools. And so these children need a different kind of help and support. And
You're saying it's a high degree of autism?
we are seeing a severe, there's a word for it, profound autism. Profound is a more severe in the sense, see, Bill Gates and Elon Musk could talk. They had speech, okay.
They were somewhere on the spectrum.
They were somewhere, yeah.
Okay.
They were, but now we are having about 20% of our children with this profound autism where, because there's no medicine for this except for you can use some drugs to calm their hyperactivity. There are some medications, but there's nothing. There's no surgery you could do. Of course, we have been treating them with our cellular therapy and we've been able to reverse. We've got a 90% success rate. And but we are now focused. And there again, you spoke of neurotransmitters. We found something very fascinating. We have been studying their neurotransmitters. And for example, we found that their dopamine, is less. The GABA is less.
Yeah.
And we have found that serotonin is elevated, and the epinephrine is elevated. Now, we did something very fascinating. We're not only seeing the neurotransmitters in the blood, we actually, because during a procedure, when we do cellular therapy, we take out bone marrow, separate mononuclear cells and inject it into the CSF. So we actually get CSF fluid. Now we were among the first to actually, in the CSF, identify what is going wrong. Which neurotransmitters are less, which are more. So not only we documented that for the first time, and it's sent for a publication. It's in preprint. I'll share the paper with you. We actually showed the connection between neurotransmitters in the cerebrospinal fluid, in the blood. We also checked in the urine and the stools. Now, this data was overwhelming, and that's where AI came to our help. We asked AI to sort of put it all together. And for the first time ever in the world, and it's a matter of great pride, that we actually started connecting the dots. What's going on in the brains? Okay. And the most fascinating part was we did it before, and then we did it after our cellular therapy procedure. And we found the balance was corrected. The things which were higher before had become, come down. The ones which were lower had come up. So neuroscience is kind of now helping us, and just maybe in the future, because what you said was very fascinating, that, children committing suicide or people committing suicide had the serotonin levels were abnormal.
Yeah.
I don't know where, but, maybe, we will have to start looking at our people and start intervening earlier. We have to put neuroscience to good use.
Yeah.
So
Could you Gen Z-fy all the biology right
All
now?
of-
Like the cerebellum stuff, the inference from the studies, just like...
So essentially, autism is a state where kids are perceiving information from the outside world differently
yeah.
from what we used to consider
Absolutely.
as normal.
Mm.
So earlier there was a clear definition of, okay, this is normal. And so anything outside of this normal is abnormal. Gradually we realized that not every kid perceives the world in the same way at the same age. And because kids' brains are constantly evolving, how they perceive the world at 5 may not be how they perceive the world at 15. So a lot of kids may grow into being closer to the mean. They may start off as outside the mean and kind of grow into the mean. So different kids will perceive different senses differently. Like some kids might be like more prone to audio stimulus. Some kids might be more prone to visual stimulus. That depends on the way that their brain areas are firing. So if your occipital lobe, which is for vision, is more active, then you will be more prone to visual stimuli. And if your temporal lobes, which are for hearing, if they're underactive, you might not listen to things much. It could be sometimes the other way around also. Some kids might really be into music They might be able to see patterns on a piano keyboard and hear notes that other adults can't. So that is why autism is now considered as a spectrum, because it's neurodivergent. So it's just, are you diverging away from what is considered as normal? There is now more and more sort of pediatricians who consider that we should probably stop looking at autism as a disease and just think that, okay, all kids are born different, and can we just make them functional? Are they functional in their way? Maybe it's our expectation that we will teach in this one way, and jo bhi fit hua, jo fit nahi hua, they are diseased. That sounds unfair. Just like how everybody has a different height, and so we don't expect everyone to wear the same shirt. Can we have a broader way of dealing with kids, and then they will be normal in that way?
X-Men.
X-Men is a
X-Men is
great
happening.
example.
I would give an example of Sachin Tendulkar. See, his father, Sachin Tendulkar, went to school. I don't think he went to college, but his father figured out when he was small that this guy is great with the bat. And instead of putting him into coaching classes, he got him a cricket coach, and see what he became. Now imagine if his father had forced him to do medicine or engineering. That would have been a disaster, and we would have lost, So Sachin Tendulkar is a great example of how parents, exactly like what Sid said, understand what their kids are naturally good at, even if it is unconventional, even if it is different.
Okay. So loosely, I think there's two topics going on simultaneously here, and I'd love to know if they're linked. There's autism, which is increasing in numbers. It seems like the next stage of evolution for the human species is this stage that we're talking about. So probably 100 years from now, more and more children might be born autistic. Is that too far-fetched a statement?
Based on the current statistics, and these are statistics from the US CDC, Center for Disease Control, you have to see that graphic on the website. Every year, there's an increase in about 10. Like if it was, like I said, it's 1 in 31 now, it was 1 in 36, 1 in 40, 1 in 50, 1 in 60. So if you just see that graph for the last 15 years, and there's no reason that anything has changed, that will not, based on data, there will be a much higher incidence. And you'll say, but why aren't we seeing it? Because the people affected now are still children, right? These people are going to become adults in the last 10 years. That's when it will hit society.
Okay. Probably in a good way.
Possibly. Because there's something very unique about kids with autism. In fact, I've written in a book, I've written my preface. It says these kids, they don't know how to cheat. They don't know how to lie. They never backstab you. They have a beautiful, everything we think good in human beings, everything we think God should be, these kids have it. They have a purity of thought and purpose. In my book, I say, I wish the rest of the world had these qualities.
Is it just America, or are we seeing this all over the world?
All over the world. In India as well. Massive
world.
increase in India. Massive.
Okay.
But we also have to factor in that our ability to sort of identify these kids has also kind of gone up. We are thinking about it more. Parents are more concerned that they
There's
will
more
notice
voice.
that something is. So earlier, say if you have 10 kids, right, and couple of them are a little different, wo along with the rest of the crowd wo nikal jata tha. But now parents have like 1 kid, 2 kids, and they are more observant. They feel like, oh, my kid doesn't do this exactly like every other kid. Let me take them to a pediatrician. So our barrier for seeing a doctor has also come down significantly. So one of the reasons why the diagnosis rate might have gone up is also because people are more aware, people are more concerned, which is a good thing, right? We need them to be identified so that parents can also be trained on how to deal with these kids.
Okay. The other topic that's parallelly going on here is adult ADHD.
Yeah.
Which is a very hot term
absolutely.
with everyone my age and younger, at least. I see there's a lot of self-diagnosis. And we'll get to that. I have to cap out one.
We're just talking about it.
We have things to say.
We have things to say.
And it's almost become a status symbol to say,
Oh, it's
I've
so
seen this a lot.
sad when people walk into my clinic and I say you don't have and everything's fine with you. They're like, really?
Yeah. I want my money back.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I don't have a diagnosis. Why don't I have a diagnosis? And I'm like, oh, shouldn't you be happy that sab theek hai? Now we have another like trajectory that we can work on and walk towards,
Yeah.
right? But no, everyone, I guess, again, the whole social media and the buzzwords and all those things,
Yeah.
and I was telling them and them as well, uh, use psychometrics. Don't just go around saying self-diagnosis. I have ADHD.
Mm.
Uh,
How do you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just park this ADHD thing here for some time and then come back to it. There is a question from the previous chapter that I need to run through all three of y'all.
Sure.
It's almost like a game we'll play.
Sure.
We spoke about how the education system is not equipped to handle the modern brain or to equip the modern brain for
Absolutely.
modern adult life.
Yes.
Okay. So, as brain experts, as people who counsel, guide, help so many people, you guys have a different insight on the workings of different kinds of brains.
Yeah.
So, we'll go one person at a time. Each of you give one sentence, which is basically like one input for the right way to educate a modern day child or teenager. What is one thing you'd focus on in terms of school? Ideally, just give one sentence and
Yeah.
we'll keep passing the parcel.
Sure. So one of my biggest learnings about how the brain learns is movement and learning are intricately linked. So throughout evolution, if you think about it, every animal will learn something on how to move. Like you're either hunting a prey or running from a predator or picking up a fruit or whatever it is, all learning is movement. We are the first species to segregate movement alag and learning alag. So we have a separate PT class and we have 8 hours where kids are supposed to sit in one place and only learn. It is unnatural. So from all the neuroscience evidence, if there's one change that needs to happen is incorporate more movement into learning. And most of the kids who the teacher says they don't sit in one place, they're not meant to sit in one place. They're kids. The reason that this whole system happened was because in the Industrial Revolution, parents didn't know what to do with kids and they just had to be in one place. So incorporating movement into learning will probably make for better students.
Assuming that we can't redo the education system, do you
At
have
least
a
start
nuska?
with this.
Yeah, the only thing I have to say is find a very practical solution is because I guess that's what parents would want and also kids would want is that choose the right education institution. Today you have your IB school, you have your SSC school, you have your Waldorf, education system.
Montessori.
Choose the right system. If you know your kid has high functioning, for example, please don't torture that child and put that kid into an SSC school because you will be called. I know instances of parents and caregivers who are called because the child has given a definition or written extra in an exam and the teacher is offended.
Wow.
How did that become our, normal, real? And as a teacher, you should have that power, right? Like, because we've taught, right? Have that power and wisdom to say, this kid is not meant for this class. Please take this kid out of here and put the child into a place where he will be, he will grow.
But how does a parent know about the options available? Like, and
It's
what are the
all-
options available?
I mean, honestly, like if you just go on the internet, right? All parents decide, honestly, it starts from conceiving. I've seen my friends do it. The moment they get pregnant, they are deciding what school to put their kids in. I would say take buckets out. God forbid your child has special needs. Suppose your kid is high functioning. That child is not going to be able to sit in an SSC class. Okay, that kid is going to be meant for a very different system because of how his nervous system is. You can't expect that kid to sit around. Pick an institution where, and Bombay has really progressed. I can speak about Bombay and a little bit about India as well. They have now made spaces for quite the spectrum. So today, if you don't want to specialize in one thing and you want to specialize in two things, right? I have the choice. I can do a dance minor, economics major. Wow. Great. So find your fit. And that's where like getting assessed is like really important. If the parents feel that something is happening, my kid is not playing the way the other kids are playing, look at it.
How does one get assessed?
Find the panel is here.
Okay, you go to a
If you-
neurologist, psychologist.
Yes, go to somebody who is able to look at people in a holistic manner. Number one is what I would say. Okay, if you're going to be pure science also or pure abstract therapy also, it's not going to work. At least I can say that for the Indian culture system.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, because we are very diverse within ourselves. We're not just thinking like an individualistic culture. We are a collective. Sometimes there's way more heart than thinking.
Okay.
So it's important to go and find the person who's able to assess you. Mostly it'll be like a psychologist. Okay, go to any education institution which actually has, a ton of psychometrics that they do. There are some colleges that do this. Maybe if you're not very affording, you can find an intern and be like, do you want to use me as a guinea pig? But you give me the right assessment, right? So there are ways to figure it out. Like genuinely, if people ask me, I message people and I tell them where to go and what to do, because there are far out and few psychometricians that I trust and I believe also. Like that is very, very important. How you read a report is what like decides where you are going to go as well. I think that happens for you all as well at a physiological level. So I think that is very, very important. The earlier you assess, the better the development of the individual will be. And you yourselves as caregivers, as parents, you all will have lesser stress than somebody else who's equipped and trained to handle what your needs are attending to you.
While this question is for children, I think it also applies to adults.
Yes,
Like
it does.
There's some anecdotes that adults can take away from all
For
these inputs.
sure, for sure. I'm a big believer of like finding your space and finding your village and finding what really interests you and sticking by it. That's very, very important.
The only thing that I would add to this is there is a risk in psychometric assessment of a premature definition of oneself. So we all, if a kid gets assessed and they read that, okay, this is who I am.
Right.
So important to add that clause that doesn't mean this is all you can be.
Yes.
So that part has to be added because we don't know how that kid will grow.
Yes.
And they might add other aspects to their identity later
I
on.
actually say this to my adult clients.
Exactly.
That you are not your depression.
Exactly.
You are not your depression. You are not your anxiety. Anxiety is something that has happened to you.
Exactly.
It's like someone having cancer or stroke. You are not stroke.
Yeah.
Yes, you have the disorder.
Yeah.
So it's difficult,
Yeah.
but with time, I think people learn to realize. I'm like, if you're able to see it for what it is,
Yeah.
you will be able to act.
Hmm.
And that is important. Awareness and action are important. If you have awareness and have no action, can't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here, now you rightly said it's difficult to change the education system. It won't happen overnight and it's difficult. But what can change is the way their parents approach their kids. I always say our children are born through us but don't belong to us. Okay. Very often we think our children belong to us, and what we do is, and this is a known fact, that whatever a parent did not get in his or her childhood, or whatever suffering he had, he tries to overcompensate for that in the
Yes.
children. Right? Children can't be corrected. They don't know. They're small. They don't have control over their lives. The education system can't be changed, but the parents can. So if we just do this, look at the half full, identify what they are naturally good at, keeping your likes, dislikes, your past history, your whatever's happened to you, your traumas, putting that aside and say, what is my child naturally good at? Because if that child then makes that into an education or a vocation, they are right on top of it. They excel. We only excel in what we are naturally good at. Right?
So identify the natural talent as
Yes,
well as
absolutely.
go for parent skill coaching.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's very important.
Yeah, maybe the best thing that a parent can do for the child is to go to therapy.
Oh, I was just telling one of the team members, and I genuinely I give so much credit to Gen Z for this. Gen Z is bringing their parents to therapy.
Interesting.
Yes.
And I absolutely love that. They don't come for many sessions, but they show up. The people who are hardwired to like go through, the daily struggle and log kya kahenge and all of those things, much against their beliefs, they show up because the kid is like, you have to come. If I have to go, you have to go. I think it's only fair. And somehow they bring the client, right? And I think that's amazing. And it's true. If I've had a bad experience with failure, I'm going to make sure my child never fails.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So
So
deal
that is
with
where,
your monsters.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can open up this ADHD tangent again. And what I really want to address is new cases of adult ADHD. I think you'll have to help us out a bit here.
Sure.
Because what I have been told by some of the people I spoke to before this episode is that what is traditionally thought to be an ADHD diagnosis has changed a bit now because of
Okay.
short content usage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the definition of ADHD has changed a bit. The definition of how to diagnose it has changed. There's a very raw
Sure.
bunch of thoughts. So I would love for you to clarify that. I personally believe after 11 years of creating content, a content creator's job in essence is about predicting where society is at. It's very, very difficult to make content nowadays. It's becoming more and more difficult. It's also becoming very difficult to make long form content like this.
Yeah.
I do think that this particular episode will find its takers. There are people who want depth in conversation, but for the most part, you have to keep your content really short. You have to keep it crisp. You have to edit heavily. That's a reflection of where society is at.
Sure.
Couple of tangential questions.
Sure.
Firstly, the self-diagnosed ADHD rubbish that's going on.
Yeah.
Let's address that. And
Yeah.
secondly, what is real ADHD that's actually happening around us? And is it even bad?
Okay. I mean, it depends on what you do with it, right? If you realize that you have ADHD and you know how to hone in on your skills, like one of the traits of ADHD people is hyper focus. If I like something, I'm going to kill it. Like, I have friends who are pilots who have ADHD. So, with the help of therapy and medication, yes, and obviously he got assessed. Assessment is very important. And whoever is assessing you needs to look at you at an individual level as such. You have to see that person's lifestyle. Am I doing any sort of like drugs? Where is my attention actually going? Because sometimes attention is not just a factor of like, ADHD. It could be because you are doing drugs, because there's lack of sleep, because just your circadian rhythm is totally off. And obviously these two can vouch for that, a lot of things get fixed when you live better, right? You live according to your rhythm. Like, I'm not going to say wake up at 5 o'clock because sabki baas ki baat nahi hai. I don't wake up at 5 o'clock, okay? Find your rhythm. Definitely find your rhythm. So, like, for example, the last time I was on your podcast and, we did like a little fun activity of drawing, right? I wouldn't assess that drawing just like that. I am going to ask you whether the person drawing was a professional person who was drawing the test. We did a very quick like DAP for funsies, to be very honest. And they were like, oh, ma'am, interpret it. So, did the little thing. And one of the things to actually like understand is that, does this person come from an artistic space? Does this person have a hand? Because then my interpretation is going to obviously come off on it, right? Like, maybe then the test will look great, all right? But in fact, that is just the person's artistic ability.
Right.
So my diagnosis will be totally off then. So
Is scrolling increasing ADHD?
Okay, so before that, pause. I think before we call it ADHD, we kind of need to look at not every person who has trouble focusing has ADHD.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that. Very correct.
that.
Yeah.
Because it's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. ADHD is a childhood disorder with a huge genetic component where there is attention deficit plus hyperactivity. They're jumping, they can't sit still, there is no ability to control their motor movements.
Yeah.
Okay.
this is a dopamine network dysregulation,
Gotcha.
right? So there is a genetic component to it. Not everybody with the gene will get it, but if you have that gene and if there are certain environmental factors, you will get those symptoms. And most kids with ADHD, if you go back and ask their school teacher, they will say ki हाँ भाई ये तो था इसको. The adult ADHD that you're talking about, how many people who say they have adult ADHD also have that hyperactivity where they're jumping from place to place? They just have trouble focusing, and there are many reasons for having trouble focusing. So before you call somebody adult ADHD, have you ruled out, like ma'am said, have you ruled out drugs? More commonly, have you ruled out anxiety?
Yeah. Anxiety is
Simply having
anxiety,
anxiety.
depression really affect memory. They affect your attention, and these are things that people don't talk about. Like before the podcast started, I was talking to him about how I met two physiotherapists who are focusing on fascial work. And as a part of anxiety, all your muscles, your spine, your frozen shoulder, these are byproducts. These are somatic issues that people with anxiety and like depression have. Restless leg syndrome, so common in depression.
Exactly.
People don't talk about it. Hypermobility, so common.
So, like an example, if I give you a presentation to make and you are focusing on it, and I light a fire in this room behind you and I tell you to focus, will you be able to focus? You will not. And I cannot diagnose you as ADHD because you're not able to focus. Even if that fire is imaginary, which is what anxiety disorder is, right? So if for an anxious person, there's always a fire burning somewhere, they're not able to pay attention. Just that isolation may, if you take, they may look like they have an attention deficit problem, but they actually have an anxiety problem. My intuition is that most adults who have an attention problem actually have an anxiety problem.
Anxiety, yeah.
What percent?
Yeah. Oh,
We wouldn't know.
it's a hard.
Let's take an average between your answer and your answer.
Oh man, I
for-
want to say 8.
8%?
No, 8 out of 10 people.
8 out of 10. Yeah, I would say that
Like
as well.
8 out of 10 people.
Yeah, any adult who had a relatively normal childhood and then they
Yeah.
developed attention problems later, absolutely.
Yeah, because like so much stress and burnout,
Yeah.
it's going to.
Okay. Because the overarching topic here is this adult ADHD situation thanks to scrolling.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also ADD,
Mm.
which is
different.
without the HD.
Yeah,
That's
the
without the
ADHD.
physical
Without the HD.
running around.
Yeah, without the physical running around, it's just basically towards focus that you just can't focus.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of the average 1 in 2 adults that we see around us who have just scrolled too much. Doom scrolling
Yeah,
has led to like some kind of changes, and then it's definitely affecting their
productivity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
performance at the workplace.
How can
yes,
it not?
Yes. How can it not?
It will.
It's like going to the gym and your brain is a muscle. So if you make it work a particular way, it's going to go into that direction.
Yeah, so there are some like counter narratives to doom scrolling that if you basically curate your feed, it can be good for your mind.
Sure.
But I argue that,
Scam hai.
yeah, that's what I think.
Okay.
I don't think
So-
there's anything
Slow
like
poison.
good doom
Yeah.
scrolling.
So here's what happens when we talk of attention or focus.
Yes.
It is essentially dopamine coming into your prefrontal cortex, helping you find motivation to focus on one thing. Dopamine is a motivation chemical also.
Okay.
So when you show me something new, there is a dopamine spike. I'm thinking, ooh, what is this? Let me pay attention to it. Okay, so this is that initial spike of focus. What happens is that initial dopamine goes away, and if I'm able to still sustain, dopamine comes back. Because now you're discovering new things about that thing, and I can sustain my attention for a while longer. But if I give up after that initial spike and I want another thing and another thing, I am training my brain that itna hi attention ho paega mere se. That is what scrolling is training all of us, right? So our attention, like ma'am said, is like a muscle like anything else. And when we scroll, every time we switch on a new reel, there's a dopamine spike. After 30 seconds, we're bored, so we scroll again. Each scroll is you training your brain that this much dopamine spike is all you are capable of. And so you never experience that sustained dopamine that comes from long-term attention.
And everyone from the age of 5 to 85 is going through the same.
Correct. And the younger you start training, the more deeper that learning goes. So I feel like all of us are still saved somehow because in our formative years, we did not have the concept of
That's
scrolling.
true. That's true.
We will not know until another 20 years
Absolutely. I
what
completely
has been
agree.
the effect.
Wow.
So do you know
We'll
that,
know this effect in 20 years. Yeah.
right? Like, so today, when we look at stories of how kids used to smoke in the 50s and cigarettes were allowed in operation theaters.
Yeah.
Now it sounds so ridiculous. That is what is going to happen in another 20 years when you realize that kids were allowed phones to scroll in. That is exactly it, because neurochemically, there's no difference between scrolling and playing at a casino. It's the same thing. At a neurochemical level, it's the exact same thing as a slot machine. Would you allow a kid to play on a
Use
slot
Slot
machine?
machine, yeah.
You know, the sad news is that this clip won't be pumped by algorithms.
Hey, it might, because the algorithm will want attention.
Yeah.
It probably will. This clip, if this clip goes viral, that'll be so ironic.
Share this clip. Share this clip if you want to solve this global doom scrolling issue. Are there activities to undo this damage caused by the doom scrolling of the last 4 or 5 years?
Put your phone away.
Can I give you a more practical one? Watch longer videos.
Yeah, so
I actually feel that's better.
that's true. A friend of mine who has ADHD is like, I'm stuck here. Like, I'm just stuck here. And I said,
Yes.
okay, I won't take your phone away because that also is very aggressive for somebody who's been glued to their phone. So I said, let's decrease. Like, Instagram actually has this time capsule, 15 minutes, half an hour. Nobody does it, obviously. But like, yeah, I mean, guilty. I'm like 15 minutes more, 5 minutes more.
of course.
Hota hai. But
Skip for
decrease.
today.
Decrease. Yeah, skip for today. Bad day, skip for today. So decrease the time, and then eventually, like, I uninstall Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, where if it wasn't for my journey with you, starting from you, my Instagram would not be on my phone.
Or move to YouTube. I genuinely feel
Long format is a
go
real
to
hack.
long form and switch to things that have a sustained information curve,
Yes.
wherein
Yes.
your brain is processing information and then learning information related to the first one. So you're still on that same topic. So look at videos that are 15 minutes, 20 minutes long and just sink into it. You are training your brain. That's fine. See, all of us grew up in the time of television where we are watching 30-minute episodes. That was all right, right? So entertainment is not a problem. Getting fun out of things is not a problem. But this 8-second fun never existed before.
This mechanics of 8-second fun that you explained, this is what's causing so-called adult
Correct.
ADHD.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the difference between like lifting a weight, holding it, and then putting it down versus the person who's doing this continuously in the gym, right? They're different. They function differently on muscles.
If you keep doing this in the
Right,
gym,
right.
eventually you damage your back.
Yeah.
So my question to you is this whole adult ADHD thing that's forming in people's heads. What kind of sadness will it cause in the long term? Or distress will it cause?
I think ADHD does have a component of sadness and depression and anxiety that comes with it. So if anything, I've seen a lot of people in a functional freeze state who actually think they're on their phone and doing something path-breaking by just doom scrolling and saying, I'm on my phone. But actually, they've checked out. They've checked out from their phone. They've checked out from their brain. They've said bye to everything. They're just on a couch and your 1 hour just goes. Nothing has happened. But see, this is clinical. What I'm saying is clinical in nature. Also, people who are burnt out also do this. This is a great way to check out. And it just then keeps, the loop is on. The loop is on. Also, the type of content you are ingesting. Like, they say that your phones are picking up stuff. So if I'm going through a breakup and then I get, content on only like breakup, you are just... the neurochemicals that will get flushed into my system will be a full different level of, demons,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
So when you come to therapy, I'm not just up against how you're thinking, but I'm up against your physiological nervous system. And to move out of that space is hard. It's very, very hard.
This is the way I look at it. In life, there is what I call signal and there is noise. And people like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, they are like almost 100% signal. Signal is where you only give attention to something that's important, something that's part of your plan, what you want to do. And noise is just all the rest of the clutter.
Yeah.
So it is important that we introduce some of these things, like the planning to introduce yoga, for example, which actually calms your mind. Because when you do yoga, you go into a different brainwave pattern. So now when you're doom scrolling, your brainwave pattern is a very different one, and we have different brainwave patterns. Like we have when you're we are right now talking, so our brains are on beta. All our brains are activated on a beta wave. Let's say before this you were preparing for something, you were reading something or you're concentrating, you are in a gamma phase. We just now took a coffee break. That time our brains went into alpha wave. Let's say just before sleeping you are tired in bed, we are in a theta wave. And when you go to sleep, we are in a delta wave. All right. Now, when you're doom scrolling, you're actually now when we are talking, we are in beta, okay, but there you are in a gamma, but a distorted sort of gamma, because it's not, there is no, you're not concentrating on something, you're continuously flip-flopping over there.
So undistorted gamma is when you're focusing on something.
Yeah, you're
very
reading, let's say you're reading a book, that's undistorted gamma. So what
And
we have,
is that good to be in undistorted gamma?
yeah, when you learn
It's
education studies,
concentration.
it's concentration.
Okay.
So what is happening with ADHD again is they can't do, the gamma waves aren't that strong. They aren't able to use their gamma waves as well. Now here, meditation is helpful because meditation is basically all about alpha and theta waves. That's all. Meditation actually gets you into alpha is when your mind is calm but alert. Theta is when your mind is calm but sleepy, drowsy. So meditation puts you there. And once you're in that state, it's very easy to now sort of make your way around this other pattern. So you have to break that pattern. You cannot just stop it. You have to replace it with something.
Yep.
Now it could be like a physical activity, like Sid mentioned. It could be so if yoga meditation is introduced in colleges, and the dangers of this are taught to students in school.
Yeah.
Like you're right. When we were small, you could smoke an aircraft. Okay. You could smoke an aircraft once upon a time. I've smoked an aircraft, so I know it's unimaginable. Right? The last airline,
Like good times.
I remember the thrill of sitting in an aircraft because you're in an aircraft. But
What could you smoke in aircraft?
that time it was only cigarettes.
Okay.
Ranveer is again like, chadega kya?
So
You're
yeah,
already high, man.
The new drug is oxygen.
But now,
Remember that.
But what was, see, at that time it was considered the in thing. You wanted to be in. You smoked. You smoked everything. Because the Beatles did it and our pop stars did it. Everybody did it.
Yeah.
But then a gradual change happened, like you mentioned, where now smoking is not considered happening anymore. It's not considered good to smoke. So that shift has to happen, I believe, in schools. Okay, and the dangers of being on social media, because see, there's a difference between the way we perceive social media and this generation. We use it as a tool. We use it to communicate. We use it to get information. They live in it. It's their reality. Okay,
their way
they
of
live in it.
life.
Okay, it's not outside of that. So once you live in it, now everything that's happening there affects you directly.
Yeah.
Right. Now there is only one way. You must have something else that satisfy you, where you get your dopamine fix, like you mentioned. Where you have your other neurotransmitters all balancing out. So, like we have something called glutamate, which is an excitatory stimulant, and there's GABA, which is inhibitory. All right. So now you have to use this balancing out. There are many in the brain. There's a balance for everything. All right. So what you have to do is, if something is working more, you have to counter it with the other, and that's when you get balance. So I think the solution is going to be in schools. Okay. I'm not so much worried about adult ADHD because most of the adult ADHD I've met, they're actually doing quite okay in life. Okay, they perceive they have this issue, but they aren't doing badly. They're
I
living
think they
independent lives.
figured it
Yeah,
out. You have
they
to
figured
figure it out.
I'm
Like,
concerned
make
about
your
the
own
children.
path.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the children, the next generation who will go out and they're not be able to read a book. Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
just imagine that. I'm not saying books are important, but you should be able to do that. Not be. And my main concern, as I see more of them, is their social awkwardness.
Oh,
So
yes.
if you see Elon Musk and Bill Gates, you'll notice a social awkwardness in them, and that I believe is a greater problem because now the interface between humans is lost. We grew up when we came home, we played cricket with our building friends. Okay, we played whatever. Today there is no that human interaction is gone. Even in classrooms, people aren't interacting.
Yeah.
You go out for holiday. You go out for a holiday, a family holiday, and everybody's on their phone.
I wonder if that social awkwardness leads to weak social connection, which then leads to mental health issues.
Yes.
Yes, it does. That's
Yes.
exactly correct.
Human beings are. Everyone's had this history notebook, no? This textbook.
Social
Humans
beings.
are social animals.
Yeah.
We live on, like, therapeutically, we live on transactions. There has to be a give and take for us to feel like we exist and we are alive. That's why people, whether good, bad, ugly, they want to talk to people, they want to interact with people. Some people get themselves into trouble knowing that there is trouble also, because that's how we function. We are not meant to live in absolute loneliness. Okay, it's one thing to be solitude, it's another thing to be lonely, right? And when you're removing the human factor from your daily life, literally, it's going to just make human beings weaker.
And I find a simple solution. I tell people, decide 3 things to do for the day and decide it the night before. Okay, and write it
Yeah.
down. And this is something I practice, So whatever you want to do the next day, write it down, because when you write it down, your sleep works on it. And
Yes.
then
Yeah.
just decide 3 things. 3 things that will further your agenda, your cause, your purpose, your mission in life. Just do these 3 things. Now, when you do them, now you get a dopamine high from that, from having accomplished something. And then slowly, and we've actually used this with people, we find that they change. It's a slow shift. This is not like it's like a ship that will slowly, the rudder will turn around. But you have to give them that option. It's a simple thing. 3 things in the day that will further your agenda of
Yes.
life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have to move into the final planned segment of the show. Okay? Because I think that currently, especially around me, I see this as a very relevant topic.
Yeah.
I don't know polite way of saying this.
Huh?
It's
Just
like
say it.
substances mixed with the brain. Substances that affect the
Sure.
brain.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not just talking about like alcohol or weed. I categorize this in 4 different categories. The first one is Nootropics, I think it's called, like Neura gum, which has become a very popular thing in the West. It's basically chewing gum that makes your brain quicker, and it's probably also the beginning of a larger story, like the movie Limitless, where you take something and you become smarter. Second is very India specific. Medical marijuana has become legal. They just call it Vijaya. And you get gummies which you can just like order home from e-commerce websites. I'd want to actually know what this is going to do for mental health in the long term. Very nuanced conversation.
Okay.
Third, ketamine therapy, which has been brought up on the show, where a psychiatrist will take you through a psychedelic experience. And fourth aspect is just free psychedelic therapy. Go to the Amazon, do ayahuasca.
कितना खुश लग रहा है.
I just want to know this from brain experts, mushroom therapies, all that. Is when you guys go for your conferences where you'll meet peers from your industry, I'm sure this comes up as conversation. So whichever
Surprisingly
topic-
little.
Oh,
actually.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is not really discussed much at least amongst neurology colleagues. It very rarely comes up,
Can I-
except for cannabis.
Can I add a 5th one?
Yeah, please.
Peptides.
Okay.
Which is the hot term in Silicon Valley
I
now.
was going to say coffee and chai because literally that's the fuel of
As we
India
are.
as we are speaking.
Like the biohacking wave that's going on, everyone's using the word peptides.
Sure.
Right.
So over to you guys, and let's take it category by category and just, I'd love to hear your opinions, even if it's like, negative opinions on these subjects.
Yeah. So I'll talk about cannabis first. So the only area where we talk about cannabis as a medical product is in epilepsy. So there are now a couple of very good studies that had come out that in drug-resistant epilepsies, where other medications don't work, epilepsy is seizure, there are cannabis-based medicines that have worked. So essentially, cannabis or THC acts on CB1, CB2 receptors in the brain, and both of these receptors influence the way that neurochemicals go across the synapses, as Sir was talking about. So synapse is the space between neurons. Neurotransmitters go from synapse, neuron to neuron, and CB1, CB2 receptors will affect those transmissions. It can basically slow the whole thing down. So if somebody's having seizures, that means unregulated electrical activity, this can just calm down the whole thing. Now, most cases of marijuana use is not for this. It is for recreation, right? People either take it as a gummy or they smoke it. Now, for a long time, people thought no harm, right? People thought that cigarettes are harmful, but marijuana cigarettes are not harmful. That is not true. So the harm that cigarettes cause is from the carbon particles that you're inhaling. Marijuana cigarettes have the same problem. If you're lighting up a joint, you can get all the problems that cigarettes can cause. The tar carbon particles go into your lungs. And cannabis itself, over a long term, 10 years, 20 years, can cause cognitive slowing. So it is not like this safe thing that people assume it is. Now, the last time I spoke about this on a podcast, there were 100 comments saying, oh, I've been smoking for 5 years and nothing happened. Sure, there are a lot of people who've smoked cigarettes and nothing happened, but the chances are like 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 people get some problem over a lifetime. It's the same thing here. You can get early onset memory loss if you've been smoking marijuana for a long time, because logically you're smoking a chemical that is going into your brain to numb everything down. The problem is that for some people who are anxious, smoking that cigarette calms them down enough that now they can focus. Which is why a lot of people say that, oh, I've smoked a blunt and now I can focus. I'm locked in for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Sure, but you are using a harmful way to solve a harm that is already happening. Right. So that doesn't really work. You are kind of damaging yourself from both sides. So if you are anxious, find a healthier solution than this.
Yeah, for sure. I have a lot of clients who actually do this microdosing. They are like, oh, but I'm not doing the whole thing. I'm like, yeah, this is like, again, slow poison. Poison is poison.
Yeah.
Right? And with alcohol, they just, it's also glorified by culture, the 6 p.m. sundowner, alcohol, end of the day, unwinding, ritual. Some people have made it a ritual, right? And it really helps them regulate. And it's sad, right? Because the anxiety levels are then that high that they need to do this on a daily basis now. The body becomes tolerant after a certain period of time. So it's difficult. Like with respect to, like, since you spoke about psychedelics, I've had a couple of clients go do psychedelics, and my experience is that they've come very enthusiastically and they're like, oh, I did this. I went to, and I did ayahuasca, and I'm like, okay, great. All right. So what did you find? And they're like, oh, we found these facts. Like, I have this insecurity and I have this block and I have this. And I'm like, didn't we talk about this in therapy? So I genuinely feel, not tooting my own horn, but if you do that kind of deep level work, right, there was nothing new that my clients came and told me that we had not spoken about already. I guess maybe the bend is curiosity, that maybe I'll find something new over there. But honestly, if you show that authenticity without inhibition in therapy, you don't need the drug. It's the fear of being, figuratively naked mentally in front of somebody, right? I've taken away the anxiety by just inducing the drug into your system and removed all those inhibitions so you can speak, like how Dr. Alok said, kids no inhibitions. They'll tell you like it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these herbs were meant to be the psychologists for people in the jungle who didn't have
Yeah.
access to
Yeah.
mental health professionals.
Yeah.
But they're being abused by
Yes.
urban dwellers. Who
Yes. Yes.
Have you seen bad effects come out of psychedelic use?
Not personally,
Okay.
no. I think just to add to Dr. Sid, I think when marijuana is used medically for like palliative care,
Yeah.
poppy seeds for
Yeah.
cancer, for pain, for people who are in, pain that you can't imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, all right. But the recreational, already we are doom scrolling.
Yeah.
We don't need to add the
Vijaya candy.
Vijaya candy and
Yeah.
all those things. We don't need to do that cocktail to our system.
I have this take on anything that can change your cognition. I think we should treat these chemicals with a lot of respect,
Yes.
which I feel is not given when it comes to lighting a marijuana joint or going on an ayahuasca journey. Ayahuasca, at least, there is a lot of ritual around it,
Yes.
and you feel like, okay, you've done something huge.
Mm.
If that same level of respect is attributed to marijuana, I would actually not be so harsh on it. Because I believe that anything that can cause an altered state of consciousness is a powerful thing, right? Because it is changing the way you look at the world, and that is a powerful tool. There are now, I think recently, 3-4 years ago, there was a study that came out of Duke's University on mushrooms. So psilocybin being used as a treatment for drug-resistant depression with incredibly good results. So patients who've not responded to anything else, 1 dose of psilocybin and 6 months later, still saying they have a lot of improvement. So anything that is capable of creating that level of altered state of consciousness is potentially opening a door where you can now add therapy into that and change the way that they look at things. ECTs at a very broad level doing the same thing. But if you are doing it as a recreation, are you giving it that respect? And if you're not respecting something that powerful, it can harm you. That's my large take on it.
Yeah, so I'm going to put a neuroscience perspective to this. We've already discussed the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. Basically, this is the higher brain, the PFC, and the limbic system. What all these psychedelics do, and okay, so before that, if I were to use an analogy, the limbic system or the subconscious mind is the accelerator in the car. The PFC is the brakes. It's our frontal cortex that tells us what not to do. If we didn't have a frontal cortex, we would be just another animal, right? So there's the brakes, there's the accelerator and the brake. Now what all these psychedelics do is they take off the brakes. Okay. So now you have your limbic system, you have your emotions, you have your subconscious mind, which is there. And once that good, bad, right, wrong, all that goes off, you are now in a very different state. My take on this is using anything, whether it's tobacco or alcohol or marijuana or ayahuasca, once in a while or occasionally, there is no harm in it. Okay, the harm comes when you start using it regularly, and the basic reason why I'm upset when somebody is using it all the time is because what it does fundamentally to your sleep pattern. In our sleep, we have 4 stages of sleep. The first 3 are non-REM and the last is REM. In the REM sleep, the mind is doing housekeeping. It's actually taking all the emotional trauma of the day, connecting it to memories in the past and converting it into dreams. All these psychedelics destroy the sleep pattern. This sleep pattern is extremely important for our mental health. It is extremely important for our physical health. It is extremely important for all disease patterns. And we've done a podcast on sleep. We discussed this in great
You're
details.
also including tobacco and alcohol in the same category.
Everything. I'm saying everything.
Okay. Anything that intoxicates.
Because what these do is they basically hijack the synapses, like Sid said. So we have nerves I'll just exemplify what he said. We have nerves. All the nerves are connected through a gap. There's a physical gap. One nerve here, one nerve here, there's a gap. And the transmission of electric current through this gap is through a chemical. All these agents hijack this. Okay. They take it over. And now, what should naturally happen doesn't happen. And this is my main concern with these is the effect it has on sleep. Because now everything else gets disrupted. So you get temporary relief, you feel good for some time, but it messes you up completely because internally your natural systems of mental housekeeping, physical housekeeping, all of that completely go away. So when you get REM sleep, for example, your brain actually contracts because there is a lot of waste matter produced in the brain through what is called the lymphatics. It's called the glymphatic system. All the toxins in the brain. That's it. You notice if you sleep 2-3 hours at night and when you wake up, how you're feeling? You're feeling sick. You're not feeling good because the toxic material has not been washed away. It's literally like, you have a room. It all gets messed up, clothes here, there, bathroom unclean. And when you come back, nothing is clean. How do you feel? So once in a while, all these things are okay, so long as your prefrontal cortex knows what it is doing, right? If you want to you're sitting with a group of friends and you want to spend time exploring, that's fine. The danger is in the addiction, not in the chemical, right? Because the addiction then messes up the natural systems. That's my basic fundamental.
Yeah.
But things like ayahuasca, because there is a ceremony now there is the other side, the good side. Particularly things like ayahuasca, because see, a lot of things that imprison us, okay, that don't let us do what we want, is the pain and the trauma that is there in our subconscious mind. Very often things from childhood that have told us what to do, what not to do, and that limits us. You want to do stuff, but the already programmed subconscious is not letting you do it. So if this is done ceremonially, okay, then it actually releases some of that. So there are reports of it being very, very useful. I have not taken it, but I've contemplated taking it just to explore, what it is like to free up your subconscious. So there is a good side to it, okay? But when it gets anything good, if you misuse, will cause damage.
Okay. Little brutal question to all three of you.
Yeah.
Okay. And sorry in advance. If y'all are comfortable with it, on a scale of 1 to 10, at this stage of life, where are your mental health levels right now?
Oh, interesting.
1 being terrible and
1 being
10
terrible
being
and 10 being perfect.
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 Because no one's life is perfect. In fact, I've only met monks on my show where I felt like, yeah, they're all right. I don't think I've met any other profession which is all right. I just wonder how the brain doctors are.
So to preface it, I would, if I can describe what a good mental health state is, if you have the capacity, and this is health overall, not just mental health, if you have the capacity to function and do whatever it is that you are motivated to do, and any obstacle that you face, whether physically or mentally, if you have the resilience to overcome that, so whether it's an infection or whether it's your boss saying you're fired, that's a mental obstacle. If you have the capacity to absorb that, recover from it, and get back to functionality, that is health, right? Whether that's physical health or mental health. From that perspective, everybody has an upper limit. Like you could be the healthiest person in the world, mentally or physically, and something big enough can break you. So there's nobody who has perfect mental health.
Yeah.
Eventually, a bad enough incident can break you. The only thing you could hope for is something that has broken you last year, would it break you today?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, that means that you are healthier.
Yeah.
And that's all you can hope for in life.
That's a really good adaptive nervous system.
Yes.
That's what we're looking for, and technically we call it a vagal tone.
Yes.
A vagal tone.
A vagal tone.
What
Like
is
in
that?
your vagus system, right? You have the capacity to move from a joyous state to something fearful, maybe collapse, but also again come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're going up and down a sort of a ladder. Okay, think of yourself on a ladder. Okay, where you have an optimal, functional, joyous space. Then you have what we call fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a complete state of like collapse, which also serves you when you need to be served. Like when it's going to protect you at certain points. In some cases maybe not. Maybe it's so overpowering the stimulus that it breaks you. Can you come back from that? Can you go back up one notch and then find this, then go here?
There's
and
a
go
Hindi
this?
word for this. I don't know the English equivalent. The Hindi word is sthirta. Like how
Like
do-
stability?
inner stability.
Sure.
So good nervous system is like adaptability, to be
There's an English
adaptive
word,
and like
Equanimity.
Equanimity.
Yes.
Equanimity.
Equanimity is a wonderful word that actually explains that.
Same as vagal tone.
So
I
sthirta has a slightly different connotation. It assumes that you are immovable. That is not the case with human beings. We are not meant to be immovable. So the idea of mental stability, I think, is pushed a little too much. None of us are stable. Imagine you are in an ocean, right? And you're swimming. A wave comes, it will push you behind. Doesn't mean that you're not a swimmer.
Yeah.
Right? A wave will come, it'll push you behind. But if you have the energy, can you swim forward?
Yeah.
And
Can
then
you
it
get
again
up,
something will
enjoy
come.
the wave. Maybe you want to do
Right?
that.
And now, if you are a 5-year-old, even a small wave will push you behind. If you're 30 and you're an athlete level swimmer, a small wave will not push you behind. At what level would you say you're 10 on 10 healthy? Like, that doesn't make sense. But if you are a good swimmer, you can keep swimming. And as you go back, if a big enough wave will come, you will feel threatened. So your body will go into a sympathetic state. You'll feel threatened. You'll feel afraid. So like ma'am said, you can go into either fight, where you like fight the wave, or flight, where you might say, okay, I don't want to swim anymore. Or fawn, where you will say, please wave, I don't want to swim. You are trying to fawn or try to gain the wave's approval so that the wave doesn't push you back.
Yeah, like befriending.
Befriend. All of these are
just
your
freeze,
defense
like,
mechanisms. Or
Aadha.
freeze. Ki, haan,
Yeah.
I can't do
But his
anything.
question, on a scale of 10.
On a scale of 10,
We have to comment.
I think my nervous system is pretty adaptable.
No.
So
On a scale of 10.
7.
10 being good and 1 being very bad.
Yeah.
I think on most days I would be like I would like to think 7, 8.
8, yeah.
A bad day would be a 6 maybe. But I've also like keeping in mind the people I'm around and all those things, I think I bounce back faster. For sure.
Then 4 to 8 would be a better answer. I have had
Maybe.
days where I'm 4.
Yeah. Like
The reason I asked the three of you this question is because y'all constantly meet people who are on a much lower end of that scale.
what's yours?
Mine is a 9.
Oh, lovely. I love it.
And I'll
It's
tell
that
you the reason.
oxygenation.
It's all the
It's
HBOT.
the oxygenation.
Okay, I'll tell you the reason. So I live life one day at a time only. Okay, one day. I wake up in the morning. I go to my balcony and I actually say it loudly. I've been doing it for many years. Today is the 9th of July, 2026, and this day will never come in my life again. So I'm going to make today special. And it took me almost 5 to 10 years to get to this state. So when you start living life one day at a time and you make each day special, now it's not like unpleasant things don't happen. Bad things happen, horrible things happen, okay? But I will still tell myself, today is still going to be special because this day is not going to come in my life again.
Dr. Sid.
So my number would be 4 to 8 because on some days it's a 4 and some days it's an 8. And for me, I'll know that I'm healthy if I can come back from 4 to 8.
Yeah.
So earlier I realized that I was under so much pressure from myself to be an 8 all the time. And I think this is something that medical students go through because you're a doctor, you're in a hospital. People are suffering all around. You have to be composed, calm. You are not allowed to suffer. The idea that you can suffer is an alien one. You almost learn to suppress that. And it took me a long time to realize that I have been suppressing so much of
to
my
take
own
it off
emotions.
your plate.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's taken me a lot of effort to just wake up and admit that, you know what, I'm not feeling good today. I'm not happy. Just to say this much took so long. The first time I said it, my wife was like, wow, you're a new person. And turns out she knew all along when I was unhappy. It's just that I didn't know.
Yeah.
So it's almost like an exercise in emotional regulation for me, that if I am sad, I want to say that I am sad, because that's how I know that, okay, next day is a 6 and the next day is an 8. If I say every day is an 8,
Something's
I
wrong with
mean
you if
something.
every day is an 8.
So I've kind of embraced that now. Ki, okay, some days it's a 4, some days, and honestly, having that 2 extra points gives me a little bit of wriggle room, because some days is
Yeah.
really special. You know, like, so I go diving. That's my personal joy. So there are moments when I'm underwater which are not comparable to all the other moments of my life. So I cannot say that I'm an 8 there also and here also. This is a 15.
Yeah.
So I like that fluctuation.
Yeah.
And I feel like the more you are able to fluctuate, the better it is, right? Because I think structures which are too rigid can break, but if you are able to kind of flow more, you are able to bear things better. So on some days I want to be a 4. You know, that's just...
Yeah, that's really authentic. Like, it takes a lot, and especially like, I'm gonna say it in whatever manner, but I think it's so difficult for men to be
absolutely.
authentic in that state and be like, I am not okay, because of all the cultural priming that has happened, that, you know, it's okay to be angry, it's not okay to be sad,
Huh.
you know? And then when people are doing it differently, it's really, really like refreshing to see that.
Yeah, so the challenge is that just because you don't say that you're sad doesn't mean your body is not sad.
Correct.
It doesn't mean that you're not suffering all the
Yeah,
neurochemical
sure.
consequences of sadness. It's just that now you have not addressed a problem that is facing you anyway. So then you're wondering, why are all these things happening? It's happening because you're sad.
Yeah.
So the sooner you admit it, the easier it is to fix.
Okay. There is a tangential question that sprouts out of your answers, which is that all that remaining 2 points, remaining 3 points, remaining 1 point. Would you be open to taking
Ayahuasca.
doctor licensed ketamine therapy?
एक second, what was your number? What is your number?
I swing
Before
between-
latent and after latent.
Yeah,
I was going to say he's gone through a
That's
lot.
that's a very apt, input.
ये cut होगा, मैं पक्का
No,
बोल रहा हूँ.
it won't be cut. It won't be cut.
All right.
Because I actually think that this is something I can share with the world, and I think it's an important life learning act, which is linked to a lot of the topics we spoke about. So 4 years pre-latent, I moved out of my mom's house, moved into Warsaw to grow the show. It grew like crazy, but as it kept growing, I felt like I kept getting lonelier and sadder. And a year prior to latent happening, I think was like my worst phase of mental health. Where I should have actually come to you, ma'am. But I was just too much in my momentum of work. So in that phase, I was 110% between like a 1 and 5. Okay. And once latent happened, there was such a large explosion. Obviously, during it, I was like a 0.1.
My God.
But
You might have been a minus also. I wouldn't be surprised. Rightfully so.
I had a lot of funny people around me. who
Oh,
kept
touch
me-
wood. That village is important.
Yeah, and we've documented all this. And anyway, that I was definitely a 0.1 in that phase. Maybe 2, 3, 6 months post that also, I was on like a 1, 2. I'm going to say, so since my relationship has begun, for me, I've just realized over years that when I'm in a stable relationship, it really, what's the word for it? Like regulates.
Regulate.
Helps me regulate
Yeah,
myself,
yeah.
and this relationship is going somewhere. That range now, because of the relationship, but also because I understand how the world works better, I understand how human society works, and I understand how temporary everything is, including adulation and fame. I'm very light right now, and now I swing between a 6 and an 8.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Oh.
which is and
This is great.
it's not
Yeah.
just for the sake of good PR and good branding. I'm actually like in a much more light place. So I see I feel like I'm a whole new person, but I have to go to that 0.1 to reach a higher
Yeah.
range.
Yeah.
Because your priorities also shift very heavily, and your definition of what matters really changes. For very long, I've toyed with the idea of living in Goa. and I'm trying to now just equate that whole reality.
We will come visit.
Yeah, the dream
100%.
is to host like. See, I call all of you guys all-stars of the podcast because we've done multiple episodes.
Mm.
So dream is to have these all-star based podcasts, but out of Goa, where I get to host my friends over a weekend in my house, and we also get to create content because my friends are really smart. So that's the creative dream. Now let's see. But
It's
Write it before you sleep.
Oh yeah, please write
Yes.
this. It's also such a challenge because none of us really know how to deal with social media. It's not something
Yeah.
that we have learned over the last 1,000 years.
No, it's also changing, like,
Right? No.
continuously.
Absolutely. So
I mean, for someone so seasoned like him, he has to keep adapting to like what's happening.
right. So when we are dealing with social media backlash, it's such a new phenomenon. Like for the brain, for us as a human being,
Yeah.
how do we deal with 1 million people upset at us, but all of them anonymous? That's not something that we know. So,
it's so new and so novel that you don't feel bad. It was like, oh, it's like, when you touch those 1,000 pins together, one of the pins doesn't poke you. It's kind of like that. So it became like, maybe that was my perspective and the perspective of the people around me, but it was numbing in a very nice way. Like I wouldn't say nice, but you know what I mean? Like, that thing in terms of what I want to give the world is, I don't know whether it's an antidote or whatever I want to call it, but basically, I think this firestorm happens in everyone's life at some point. It could happen in the form of a parent's death. It could happen like,
yeah.
something could go down. I'm sure you guys have seen versions of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also the phase that preceded this firestorm was a very nice phase. And even that happened very randomly. The only thing that stayed constant to it was the actions and
Yep.
perhaps the self-narrative.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So one of the things that the brain unfortunately plays a trick on is that when things are going very bad, we go into our primitive brains, and our primitive brain does not understand the concept of time.
Primitive brain, okay.
So like our limbic system, our emotional brain doesn't understand that this calamity is not forever. So to the primitive brain, it's only here and now. So if it is there, that means it is there forever, and I'm never coming out of it. So this is actually a great advice to give, which is just put one step in front of the other, because the element that we don't think about is time. We always think about, oh, how do I solve it? What
Yeah.
action can I take to solve this problem?
Yeah.
It's actually just time. Like time will take you out of it. Time will calm down everything, and then you go from your limbic to your prefrontal. You are able to think rationally again, and then you are able to find better solutions. But for that, you just need time. Anything that can help you pass the time is a healing.
I have to end that last tangent we were on about neurotropics, peptides,
Sure.
ketamine. Okay. The way I would position this question is that a couple of things. There's ayahuasca, where people often report meeting an entity which is female, and then that female entity guides you through the process. I don't remember which university it is. I think it's Stanford. But they've started this thing called drip therapy of DMT, where through an IV, the DMT is administered.
Yeah.
That sustains your trip for longer, where everyone who's going through that therapy reports seeing the same, I think, township. They all go to a physical place where they're able to interact with entities and come back with knowledge. This is one, I don't even know why I'm placing this thought module. I found it very interesting. Could it be that higher realities are opening up? Second aspect that I'd like to bring up here is this ketamine therapy thing, which is legal in India if medically supervised. We had a psychiatrist on the show some time ago, Dr. Atre, and she has a clinic right here in Juhu, and she does these like ketamine journeys for people. Now the question is to you guys, not as medical professionals, but as human beings. Would you do this ketamine therapy to make up for those lack of 2 points, lack of 1 point? Like as doctors, what are your opinions?
Oh.
No?
I would not.
No.
You wouldn't? Okay, wow.
Out of curiosity maybe, but not as a way to be happy. None of this leads to happiness. That's a different journey.
Yeah, and it would be so temporary. Like, what am I going to do with this temporariness? I think it's also because of the sort of people that we are. We're basing our answers on that, right? So
You think there's a prototype in terms of a person who's suited to a therapy like that?
maybe, yeah, if you're looking out for, if you're somebody addicted to like temporary relief, that's your person.
Like drug addiction.
It could be drug addiction. It could be, I mean, any kind of addiction comes from mostly some sort of trauma, right? It's not just about drugs. It's about the addiction itself. It could be porn, it could be substance, it could be shopping. So, I mean, if you're looking for temporary relief, then maybe you will go in that direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
So ketamine therapy does have a role to play in psychiatric treatment.
Yeah, it does. And it's pretty potent, and
It
it's
is.
shown great results.
So essentially, it creates like an uncoupling of your consciousness. So you don't become unconscious in ketamine. You just have sensory dissociation. So you no longer feel, but you are still aware. So people with ketamine therapy or people who have undergone ketamine anesthesia sometimes report out-of-body experiences where they feel disconnected from their body. So there are, and these windows are potential, opportunities for therapy, for changing somebody's thought process, for changing the way they think about something. So just giving you an example, suppose if somebody is really afraid of fire, they've been in a fire accident at some point, and so every time they see fire, they feel traumatized. Now, theoretically, when you are going through ketamine therapy, you could talk about fire without having that sensory experience of it being all over you and all of that. And so you are able to rewire the way you look at fire. This is theoretically. So these are great areas to explore, to look at how can we use these drugs for medical treatment. But not something that you do when you're 8 on 10 and you just want 2 more
Yeah,
points of
let's do
happiness.
2 more.
I sort of reinforce what he says. There is a medical need for this, where I think it's very useful.
Yeah.
But I don't think it should be used as an exploration, something to try, because you never know the other side. You never know what happens. A lot of it is uncontrolled because you're not supervised after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not supervised after that, as in?
And then you go home and then you don't know what's happening after that.
It can still be in your system and
No,
like,
it's short acting, but still, you don't know what you've unleashed within yourself, and you might find it difficult to handle.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a medical need. If you want to open a window for a particular treatment and you need this, like Sid said, I think it's definitely a great tool. But I don't think it should be just used, come on, let's go and,
Yeah.
yeah. I had a friend, I think, who was diagnosed with BPD once, and she had ended up doing a mushroom therapy. And she's one of the only people that I have heard say that it was not good for me. It unleashed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
of
mean,
things.
to be very honest, even weed does that for some people.
Yeah.
It's supposed to put you in a zen space. But I have known of people who've gone into absolute frenzy and like anxiety attacks, like panic attacks.
Yeah.
So,
like a bad trip.
yeah, like
But
if that's what you want to call it, yeah.
the remnants of that remain, like after.
Yeah, I mean, she remembers it. So that's the thing. Like, I think it also depends on what point of your life are you taking it, and
Yeah.
a lot of, genetically, if you're susceptible to like, just putting it like psychosis, for example, if there's
Exactly.
bad mental health in your family and you've decided to go on a trip, right? You might just cross over and go on a trip
Right.
forever.
Because see, essentially, what do these psychedelics do? Like LSD or mushrooms, they act on your serotonin network. So serotonin is the way that you perceive reality. And when your serotonin receptors get changed and there is a flooding of serotonin, your reality starts to shift. Now we are assuming that once the chemical leaves your brain, you are able to go back to your old reality. What if it doesn't? So then what if your reality remains shifted? It's still rare, but there are reports of psychedelic induced psychosis where people have had like almost schizophrenia like symptoms
Yes.
where they're unable to come back to this reality. So it is a risk, especially like I'm said, if there is history of schizophrenia in your family, if there's history of psychosis, it is, again, I'll go back to this. Anything that creates altered sense of state, altered consciousness, should be treated with the utmost respect.
There's a price you pay to alter your consciousness.
Yeah.
On some level.
And I mean, it's very unfortunate, at least, with respect to physical medical ailments, we will know ki, acha, my grandfather had it, my mother had it, my chacha had it, my mama had it. Mental health, most people are not able to tell me whether there's somebody in their family who's experienced anything. I would have to ask you a question like, hey, do you think there was somebody in your family who you felt was different, for example? Like, and if they were different, what was it like?
Yeah.
What did you experience, or what did you hear, or whatever it is? Like, people have no idea what's happening in their families with respect to mental health.
You would have to diagnose them first before
I'm like, it needs to change. Like, go home, find out, ask questions. And unfortunately, back in the day, a lot of stuff went undiagnosed. It would just be like anger. If someone's hitting you, it's just anger. No, it's not anger. It's way too frequent to be anger. So,
Okay. I think we're almost out of time. Which is why this final question.
no.
Did you guys gain anything from just this interaction today?
Oh, it was great fun.
That's so much fun.
We just
Was it
learned so much.
stimulating with the students?
Oh,
and
yes. of
Oh,
course.
yeah. I think all of us are always looking for people like this to sit and it feels like we're hanging out and chilling out. It doesn't feel like, oh, we're here for an academic conversation. It's just been
See, the
so
interesting thing is, all three of us are neuroscientists, but all three of us look at the brain differently. She sees it from the mind point of view and the mindfulness point of view. Sid sees it from the neurological disease, disorder, neurochemistry, drugs point of view. I'm a surgeon, like to fix things. So I like to see things from how do you fix it, Now, because all three of us are looking at the same thing differently, this is a complete holistic approach, So that's the beauty of what we are sharing, that we are looking at the same thing, we're just looking at it from different perspectives. And then what this leads to is a complete picture.
The final question for you guys, because peptides and nootropics, they are the hot topics now. Say in the next 3 to 5 years, peptides become legal in India, nootropics become the rage. Would you guys take it yourselves?
No.
No.
Yeah.
I'll explain a way that I explained to a patient recently who asked me this question. Imagine if you have a glass, okay, and that's your brain health. Now you fill the water all throughout. Maybe the last couple of drops that you're adding before it starts to spill, that is nootropics and peptides. Okay. So yes, there is a chance that nootropics and peptides will improve your brain health. But compared to what is going to improve your brain health the most, this is a smaller percentage.
Like sleep, good
Yes,
lifestyle.
absolutely. So if your basics are not in place, no amount of nootropics or peptides can fix it. But if your basics are in place, think of athletes, right? So the physical equivalent in athletes, say Ronaldo, he's sleeping well, eating well, exercising, sure, but he will still go that extra mile to gain that slight edge over his opponent. That makes sense. But if you are a cognitive athlete and you want to function at that level and everything else is sorted, sure, try it out. But just peptides or nootropics is not going to make a difference if you are sleep deprived or stressed.
It won't help. I mean, it's never helped. Honestly, my first session is all about fixing people's rhythms.
Yeah.
If you are not sleeping, if you are not eating, if you're only on coffee, and then you're telling me you're anxious, I can't fix this. You're gonna have to go fix it in the first week. At least start that rhythm, so that we can start thinking and talking clearly from that perspective. If your nervous system is upside down, whatever I say, sure, you'll understand. Okay? Will you be able to do it? You won't be able to translate it. So it's all in that translation where the work lies. And I think that's the difficult part. Like, no one wants to put in the discipline or the hard work. It's just easier to do the short-term thing and fix.
Yeah.
Okay. Any points, sir?
No, nothing. Again, I believe all these things have a medical purpose. So there are medical indications where these things are useful, various neurological conditions.
Yeah.
I was among the first to start using this for head trauma at Sion Hospital for stroke. So there are medical indications where this works, but I would not take it for the reasons people are taking it now.
Gotcha.
What I found in medicine is if something is indicated biologically and you use that intervention, only good things happen. But if it's not indicated, okay, and you use that, nothing good will come out of it. Okay, so there is a medical need, but definitely not for just, recreational
Brain
purposes.
enhancement,
Yeah.
brain
Yeah.
boosting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just one thing that keeps coming up in health conversation is that anything that previously took 6 months of effort, if someone is saying that here is an intervention that will give you the same result in 1 week, it's likely to be a scam. Now, maybe they intend it, maybe they mean it, but it will eventually get proven to be a scam because that's simply not how biology works,
Exactly.
right? So if some chemical reaction or a muscle building or a neural network getting built, if that takes 6 months, and if you are able to push it into 1 week, that will have consequences that you will find out later.
Yeah.
So it's the
Yeah,
same
that's
thing with
true.
GLP-1s also.
I was just going to say that.
right.
You can do it for a year or two max. After that, it's
Yeah.
all on you.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, so all healing, because any intervention that supports the body's healing will take time. Now here, there is a difference between the Western approach to disease and the Eastern view of thinking. The Western, the American, they approach disease like a villain, like an enemy. You go after it, you medicate it, radiate it, okay, AK-47, destroy it, operate it. So they look at disease as a villain. Eastern thinking, Indian, Tibetan, Chinese, Japanese, look at disease and disorder as a victim, not as a villain, and say something has gone wrong, either genetically, environmentally, lifestyle, that something has given way. And the philosophy of Eastern medicine is make the body stronger, improve the body's immune system. So they're just two different ways of looking at it. Of course, at times you have to combine both. So when you improve the body's ability to handle the situation, and this takes time. The Western is about quick results, get results right now. Whereas this takes time. Anything that makes the body heal itself will take its time. You can't fast track it. If you have a skin cut, the surgeon can suture it, but that healing will take few days. If you have a broken bone, that will take its time. You can't fast track it. So likewise, all diseases where you use interventions to heal, firstly they are safe, they take their time, and they give you more finite results. They are not transient results where you take something, you feel good for a while, and then that disappears. So I think this is the different approach, and we have to somehow combine both. We have to use the Eastern system, thought process of healing, and maybe use Western technology. Like I told you, yoga is about pranayam, which is also hyperbaric oxygen. Now, since we can't do it, you put yourself in a machine, and get the same result using the technology to give healing the Eastern way.
Got it. Okay. I was going to summarize this entire episode.
Wow. Good
Go
luck with
ahead.
that.
Go ahead.
But then I thought, maybe not. So thanks for being here, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving us our first
Okay, you
group
can summarize
TRS.
by saying, what did you get from this episode?
Social, physical, and intellectual and spiritual activities are very important to keep your brain healthy in the long term, and your mind hearty.
Yeah.
That's what I gained.
Okay.
In like one line. Of course, I've oversimplified.
After the overload, he's like physical, mental, spiritual.
I was going to go about every point, but I think it's about like finding physical rhythm, intellectual rhythm, spiritual rhythm, and try staying there as much as you can. Also anticipate the firestorms will come, but be kind of mentally ready to traverse through them and seek help. If you can't handle yourself.
Yeah.
Not everyone can do it themselves, I think.
Seek help
Yeah.
is a great
Yeah.
great
seek
takeaway.
help is good.
Yeah. In saying all this, I'm waiting for Neuralink to become legal and usable, and then I just want to see what it'll do. I do think that that's going to be the next stage of human evolution.
Why would you want that?
Just I'm curious.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting because only thing is you'll be able to modulate your brain instantly, which is good, but it's also dangerous because, you might want to keep feeling happy all the time, which may not necessarily be very productive. So,
I also have like a very strange kind of input on what true happiness is for me, but like the absolute peak of happiness I felt was when my meditation habit was very, very strong. My physical fitness stuff has always been strong, but there was a phase where I meditated every day for maybe like 3-4 years. And as you keep meditating regularly and you make it longer, basically your meditation technique is able to lead you to a place of thoughtlessness. And that state of thoughtlessness was my 10 on 10 happiness. And as I kept maintaining that over a couple of years, my average happiness had increased a lot.
That's you like really conquering your nervous system.
Yeah.
If you look at your autonomic nervous system, there is the sympathetic side and the parasympathetic side, and it's supposed to be equal, but all of us are so experienced in navigating the sympathetic side, which is hustling, going after things, running after things, growth, all of that. We have experienced anxiety, we have experienced panic, we have experienced extreme panic, but very few of us have experienced the other side. What does it mean to go so deep into parasympathetic? Because if you can go one way, your nervous system has the capacity to go the other as well. But we haven't experienced it. And I think that is what true meditation gives you. Not sleeping, but consciously going to the depth of parasympathetic will seem something like this, where there is no anxiety, where you're completely in a blissful state.
I think that scares people also because they get so used to living in an anxious state, in a burnt out state. They don't know what they're going to do or what happy looks like. Also, building happy is very hard. Very hard. Negative addictions are just so quick.
That's the unfortunate thing, right? For those who are used to noise, silence can seem like a threat.
Yes, that's true.
Right? They cannot be bored. They cannot sit for even a minute without interruption,
they have to be
stimulation.
Moving all the time.
Which is why people are always on the phone. Even in a break in conversation, there is a feeling कि अच्छा चलो phone उठाओ. Because वो 30 second का discomfort भी मेरे लिए बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. So that is because we are so used to being in the sympathetic side of things, right? So the parasympathetic is one that we should explore. Like we all have the capacity in us to go into parasympathetic, but we don't because we're scared. We're so used to this.
You know how Elon Musk says that probably 10 years from now, jobs won't be a thing and everything will be taken care of. Some utopian version of socialism will begin. I think people... If that is the case, I think people should concern themselves with physical health, mental health, and the spiritual health.
I mean, even if it's not the case, people should still concern themselves.
Like we learned to be bored. If you ask a kid nowadays to be bored, oh man. Why just the kid? Like a young adult also? They're like, bored? What's bored? Let's go get coffee. Let's do this. Let's do that. I'm like, no, sit. I'm like, what do you mean sit? I'm like, sit.
To elaborate further on what he said, sympathetic and parasympathetic, I'll just elaborate a little further. This sympathetic nervous system has been given to us by nature to save our lives. So when the lion is chasing the deer has to run like hell to save his life. That time your blood pressure has to go up, your heart rate has to go up, you need maximum glucose, so glycogen converts to glucose. So your entire body, your muscles are tight, your anal sphincters have to shut down, you can't pass stools. Now the body sucks in all the energy and pushes it to the heart, muscle and brain. Now this is meant to be used once in a while when your life is in danger. But what are we doing? We are using this all the time. So something which nature gave us to use once in a while, we are using it all the time.
We are just active, we are on.
The sympathetic nervous system is destructive because it takes everything maximum and destroys stuff just to save your life. Nature's given us a parallel system, the parasympathetic nervous system that he spoke about, that does the exact opposite. It lowers the heart rate, lowers the blood pressure, reduces glucose, lets your anal sphincters open, has an effect on your pupil dilatation. Now, this is meant, when is this activated? like you were sitting outside and three of us were having coffee and discussing this, our parasympathetic was on.
When you chill.
When you're with friends, when
Yeah.
you chill,
Yeah.
when it automatically comes out. Now, nature has given us this compensation. Problem, we don't use that. All right. Our sympathetic nervous system is so on all the time. So what was given to us to be used once in a while to save our life, we are using it all the time. And that system is destructive. And all modern illnesses, hypertension, diabetes, renal failure, cardiac, all of them are because of overstimulation of the sympathetic nervous system.
And gastric issues, like a
Yeah.
lot of people with
Always,
IBS.
always,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Like
So everything is
you're
sympathetic
always
nervous.
GID,
stressed. Like
like
it's
the acidity
bad.
reflux.
Yeah.
You know what I would have died to bring into this conversation would
Bring
have
it.
been no.
What?
It's, the thing is, to do justice to this topic, I think we need philosophers in the room.
What is it?
Consciousness.
Oh.
I think it's related to what all three of you all are doing, but I think that's a great sequel episode.
Yeah.
We should do that with philosophers in the room, like monks or something. So let's end this episode here.
Yeah.
Because this
Thank
opens
you.
up a whole
Thank
rabbit
you
hole.
for having this
Yeah.
vision.
That
Thank
was
you so
really
much.
fun.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. I have an activity to recommend to you guys and also the audiences. Very, very therapeutic. I highly recommend watching the animated 2D version. I think it released in 1950 something. Animated 2D version of Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
And watch it again. There's a lens of watching it as a child, and you just think it's a cool, interesting, kind of funky story. When you see it as an adult, it's actually a narrative on psychology and how she goes inside her own mind.
Okay.
And just watching that film, the way it's done, the way
Wow.
the dialogues are written, it forces you to look within. So great ending note. Thank you.
All
guys.
right.
Thank you to
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
guys.
All
Thank
three
you,
of y'all are
everyone.
healers,
Thank
and I
you.
think that subliminally you'll also spread a lot of healing through this conversation. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, the entire team.